Thanks a lot for being here. I let the last one sit. So you are here invited by the Live HORIS project that you will hear from in a second. We wanted to make this event a bit more exciting, so we have invited external speakers. We have broadened the scope of the event. HORIS developed 3 one-stop shops for renovation. And I don't say more, you will have the opportunity to hear more in a second. Just wanted to tell you a few practicalities for on-site and online people. So on-site, I shared here the password for the Wi-Fi, though you are not supposed to work, you're only supposed to share about the event. You have an unlimited access to coffee and sweets outside of the room. It's open until lunch. Then during the coffee break, someone will come and give us a wellness session. So this is kind of stretching exercise that you don't need any material to do, but it's just to relax after this intense session. And for online people, don't worry, the event is also recorded, and also for you, is recorded and will be made available. For online people, you don't have camera or microphone, but you can ask any question in the Q&A and chat sections. Finally, you were given on-site printed event survey, and online it will be through the Q&A, so don't hesitate to fill it to help us improve. And you might also have seen that we have a photographer, videographer, who is going to prepare a short video of the event. He made also some interviews, so it will be a nice, exciting video as well to remember this day. This is the agenda for the day. So we start with a keynote speech from the Commission, and then we have 3 panels, as I was mentioning, so you will discover a lot of things. And we start with Thibault, and I give the floor to my colleague Louisa from Euroconsumers, who will introduce Thibault before he starts. So, but Thibault, you can already. Yes, I am.
Okay. Thank you, Marie.
Thanks, Lisa.
Welcome, Thibault. I will leave you the floor in a minute, but first of all, I want you to know who Thibault is, European Commission Director-General for Energy Policy Officer, and he's also DG Energy, of course, working on policy for the energy efficiency of buildings in particular. And he was a previously case handler on state aid fines and also working at environmental services company in academia. So he could really actually share with us not only the policy, new policy objectives, but also partially his maybe knowledge and feeling about whether or not we are so far to reach that objective, where we set the status of the implementation of the ambition of the European Union. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And good morning to everyone here in the room and online as well. So it's really a great pleasure to be here and to support this project. We are celebrating today 3 years of work across 3 countries. And that's really the perfect occasion to put the spotlight on your achievements, of course, gather the lessons learned, but also to turn to the future, to 2030 and 2050, which is around the corner. It's less than a generation away, actually. And these on really setting up the platforms, the HORIS platforms, contacting the professionals, the citizens, and driving the energy renovations forward with, and that's also very important and difficult to achieve, hopefully overall satisfied citizens, satisfied customers. So many thanks to the Institute for European Energy and Climate Policy, the IEECP, and partners for organizing this event. And I also want to start, and this won't surprise you, you've heard it many times, by stating that with the Middle East crisis, it is absolutely clear to us that our EU's dependency on fossil fuels, including specifically gas imports, creates vulnerability and impacts the living costs of our citizens. And this is particularly true for buildings, as our estimate is that in the EU, directly or indirectly, more than half of gas use goes to building. heating, for electricity, for cooking, etc. And so in the current context, what comes clear is that structural solutions to reduce those dependencies are more needed than ever. And also on the link with the housing side to it, you're also aware that in December, the European Affordable Housing Plan was adopted and that it recognizes the importance of accelerating renovations and repurposing our building stock to both contribute to the supply of affordable and sustainable housing, but also at the same time to reduce the energy bills, thereby lifting people out of energy poverty. Now, the good news is that I believe we have the delivery toolkit, starting on the legislative side with legislations, including the Energy Performance of Buildings Act, the EPBD. The revised EPBD relies on several building blocks to increase the rate and the depth of renovation. There is really work to do to, let's say, catch up on our 2030 targets, the minus 55% GHG emissions, but also in terms of energy use specifically, and to contribute to competitiveness, also create local jobs. So it is very important that we double down, let's say, on the implementation of the EPBD and related legislations, the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Renewable Energy Directive. I won't name them all. But what I want to say and focus on for now is really the crucial role that the national building renovation plans play in that context. They are really a key feature of the EPBD to really empower, in a way, member states to have this strategy setting, this mapping of the building stock, this complementary set of policies and measures that would, in a cost-efficient way, drive this renovation wave in every member state and at local level as well. And another block in the EPBD, which we call the enabling block, the enabling tools block, is also really aimed at feeding into the target setting, let's say, performance requirements on new buildings, also on existing buildings, at least for part of them, and to have this really data and information driven transition. Now, this revision of the EPBD aims overall as really lifting ourselves, Europeans, above the hurdles to renovation, the barriers to renovations that we've heard about so many times, including the hassle, the complexity, the information asymmetries between the building owners and the contractors, the split incentives between building owners and tenants, just to name a few. And in that context, I think that we've heard many times that there is no silver bullet. However, we do think that there's maybe not a silver bullet to deliver on the renovation wave, but there is a very efficient one, which is embedded also in the EPBD, which is the one-stop shops. Because they can address so many of those barriers at the same time and really to allow for a cost-efficient use of typically scarce public money at local and national level. And this, I think we know very well when coming up with projects that could actually deliver results, that it's really important to convince the policymakers at all those levels that they will have an impact, because, well, those projects are competing with other priorities. Now, for that reason, we have a dedicated article on one-stop shops in the EPBD. This is Article 18, as you know. And in terms of content, the key features is that the one-stop shops delivered, set up by public authorities, will have to target all the actors involved in the renovation. And again, speaking about the HORIS project, it's something that you really try to bring together the different, let's say, layers, the co-participants in the renovation project, but also that those one-stop shops should cover the entire territory, not to leave regions on the side. That the support would cover the different stages of the renovation project, from information to delivery, quality insurance, etc. Again, in the HORIS projects, this is another feature that, for example, you have this customer satisfaction survey, if I'm not wrong. So that's really a way to have this feedback loop and improve the service over time. And the last key feature of the EPBD, National Digital One-Stop Shop, is that the dedicated services will be provided to vulnerable households. Those with less maybe knowledge, more fear overall, to really engage or start the renovation journey. So much so for the common EU framework. The provisions that I just mentioned are still embedded in a rather flexible skeleton. The goal being that we still encourage, really incentivize those local initiatives that would really differ between member states, north, south, or between, let's say, general cultures in terms of involvement of the private sector versus the public led initiatives, or let's say associations led one-stop shops that can also be delivered, whether they are digital, whether they are on-site, meaning dedicated offices, or with in-person visits in the buildings on the ground. A combination of all of those, which is usually one or another the best approach, and this really to overall serve the customers, the citizens, the building owners, but also those who benefit from it beyond the owners, the tenants, and the SMEs. And that's also something you've really tried to optimize in those three countries, in Portugal, in Spain, in Italy, with the HORIS project. Now, we are very glad also that we have supported such initiatives in the Commission, thanks in particular to the dedication of our CINEA colleagues, really managing the LifeSet Clean Energy Transition, a sub-program with already around, and I see that Pierre-Antoine is in the room, so correct me if I'm wrong, around 50 projects really on one-stop shops, delivered or ongoing. And that will continue. We are in the middle of the current multi-annual 3-year goal, 2025-2027. And again, if I'm not wrong, I believe that's the one for next year. So the project we implemented in 2027 is open for applications until September. So this, I believe you know as well, but it doesn't harm in repeating it. So I think that I'm not far from the end of my little speech. Now, all this experience gathered from those projects on the ground has also enabled us to prepare a dedicated guidance to member states, really that we've tried to make as practical as possible. We refer to it as a handbook on establishing one-stop shops for energy renovations, which was adopted in March, and that we hope will also help member states transposing the EPBD, the provisions in Article 18, have really ambitious building blocks in the NBRPs, in the National Building Renovation Plans. As you know, we are receiving the draft plans as I speak. The final ones are due by the end of the year. And I also want on that to really encourage you, if that's something you might consider, to contact your ministries, your energy agencies, to know if the information is not maybe up to date, it's not there, to know where the draft plan stands, whether the public consultation was carried out, because it's also a way to actually contribute to this process, or when this would be organized. And we hope that through those NBRPs, through those local initiatives, the guidance that that we've also worked on, addressing key questions on financial sustainability, so beyond this valley of death of 3 to 5 years. So how to secure financing on the longer term, for example, how to retain competent staff in the one-stop shops by providing them really career opportunities, ways to grow inside the house and in this ecosystem, because it's usually not about one entity, but this complementary set of services. Also questions on, for example, the legal status of such initiatives, which often might actually be a barrier to the creation or the continuation of one-stop shops. Thinking of issues with state aid, public support received, whether you can have monetized services, etc. We hope that by combining all those initiatives and endeavors, that we'll have this thriving one-stop shop ecosystem and growing one in the years to come towards 2030, 2050. So on that note, I'm also looking, I want to really leave time to the experts and the panels to discuss the key issues that you've identified. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thibault, for this for framing actually the contest. And that said, I want to invite the panelists to take place. So please, Elsa, Isabel, Ines, take your place, and so that we can start the discussions. But before Paula, I guess, let me squeeze in a corner. Can you see Paula? Or yes. Yes. Okay. Before giving the floor to my colleagues and let you do the journey of our one-stop shop, I want to briefly recall the specific objectives of the project, because I'm the one that, together with Elsa, designed this kind of thing 3 years ago, or less, or probably, actually, we started earlier, because we had the ambition, basically, to really be the bridge between consumer demand and willingness that we perceive as consumer organization to of the consumers to really be more sustainable and to become actors of this energy change, and the practicalities, the starting point, the fact that we could really put them in contact with the supplier, with the trusted one. And so the ambition was really to enable the enable factor through an infrastructure that should be modern enough, but also accurate to really build this bridge. And we deliver basically this objective, building the 3 platforms that we will discover soon, informative one, but also again with the ambition of transforming information into a service. And not only a service that could be, of course, as long as the project life, supported by the brand, luckily, but with the ambition of also observing whether or not this kind of interaction could be fruitful enough to survive to the brand. So to build a business model and check whether at the end of the journey, either consumer would pay consumer organizations for this interaction as members or increase their loyalty for this kind of work. Or on the other hand, professional could really pay a fee for receiving the lead of the consumer interested in having their service. So this was the ambition that we drafted. And finally, of course, for this to happen, because what was at stake was the consumer organization reputation for being an independent source of information, we had to rely on partners such as Bureau Veritas or Nova University to build the infrastructure behind, so to really assess the good professionals to make it happen, the good criteria that you find in the leaflet realized by IEECP, to really check, the robustness, to be a reliable provider to this service. Because as I said, the reputation of our organization was at stake. And at the end of the journey, of course, we had also to interact with another partner, which is DGG, you will discover later on, that we were in contact with because that they developed already a digital platform that we decided to geolocalize, but to customize also according to our needs. And so we also experience, of course, I don't want to say issues, but we have to learn how to integrate and to be able to recognize our members, to be logged in the platform, and then also go through the journey and then have a joyful experience. And to some extent, we reach was the objective of increasing the awareness of consumers, of citizens, of the ones who were following us and the ones who were not yet following us. So you see huge numbers of session of visits, and of course we are gathering everything. But the point is, will they survive the project grants? Is this enough? Are really, the information something that people will transform into real contract, basically, to really impact the market and really have savings in their base, because this is what matters for consumers. Okay, so we will discover it not only in this part, but also the discussion later on related to the policy recommendation, to the framework. Before Thibault mentioned the ECPD and directive status by May 29. As you know, this is the deadline for the implementation of the Green House Directive. And unfortunately, in my country, because I'm here acting as your consumer representative, but also agro consumer representative, being fundraiser for both of them, has not implemented the directive, unfortunately. And you know what's happening? All the regions are kind of anticipating the measure, which means it's a mess. So we want to be a point of reference for sure, and this we have achieved as consumer organization because people are lost, even the ones who are willing to go ahead. So this is the strange framework we are in, with ambitious objective of 60% of buildings that should be renovated by 2030, 26 by 23, and with this situation of 75% of buildings that are the main sources of kind of pollution, and of course at the lower class of the scale. So we probably need to, as said before, more than one silver bullet to really reach this goal. But for sure, we as partners committed all to this, and these were the original objectives of the project that, grosso modo, had been reached. That said, I hope I also set the scene of the efforts and of this journey of the project partners. And I want to, before giving the floor to Elsa, who's the official project manager, provide you a digital journey experience, producing a video that Marina is going to show you.
Renovating your home has many direct benefits. Reduced energy consumption and costs, improved indoor air quality and comfort. But, like many, you don't know where to start. The costs to anticipate and subsidies you could get, and not even which professionals to trust for the works. In a groundbreaking collaboration, consumer organizations in Italy, Spain, and Portugal have joined forces with researchers, certification providers, and consultancies to create one of the first national-level one-stop shop operating across multiple countries. Together, these 10 partners bring expertise in building physics, installations, circularity, climate adaptation, permits, subsidies, and financing to a single platform. Gathering all you need to know to kickstart your renovation and take informed decisions, including access to a network of qualified and verified suppliers. Follow us while we take a tour to the tools. The platforms contain each 2 tools, mapping legal and regulatory aspects for home renovation, as well as technical solutions, compiled in optimized packages of measures by country. The green menu provides technical, legal, and financial information on sustainable retrofitting measures, quick wins, easy and low-cost fixes, and heavier measures, insulation and ventilation, climatization, and more. It presents inspiring projects and provides insight into the possibilities. Are you enthusiastic? The next step is the self-scan, offering direct personalized information after you answered a few questions about your situation and the building itself. Get to know about the public and private financing schemes available for home renovation, the specific energy efficiency and renewable energy solutions per country, and access quantified information that help you decide what to implement. Ready to start? Pick the measures you find interesting. Select and connect with the certified building professionals. Share and print your results into a personalized PDF. Start saving energy now. Meet you there. The platforms build on a model operating for over 10 years in the Netherlands and were developed through a project funded by the European Union, Life HORIS, empowering homeowners with a simplified approach to renovation.
So let me raise to all of you kind of same question, and then I will give you 3 minutes each to really go to the not artificial intelligence, but human intelligence behind the platform. And what the infrastructural intelligence, Elsa, what did you do as a team energy coordination leader and leader of the project also to make it happen behind the platform? What's the work done by the customer organization? And what was the main obstacles that you face also, if you may?
So good morning. I would say the approach that we decided to have in HORIS is this consumer-centric. There are several one-stop shops across Europe and all over the countries, but we felt that for homeowners it's still difficult to understand what to do. The journey is quite difficult. So, in fact, we need to, as I was saying, this journey needs to be more simple, easier. And first of all, the homeowners, they need to trust. So, at HORIS, because we are running with our colleagues, but in each country, Portugal, Spain, and Italy, by consumer organizations, we are seen as independent, so we are not dependent on brands. So the information we provide to consumers is what you really need for your house. So what are the best measure or the financial options? So and at the same time, and I think what we want is really to help consumers through all the journey. So not only about have information, also to have okay, what is the best for your house, but then we want and with HORIS to make this bridge directly with the professionals, because then when our managers, they know, okay, we need to do anything, I know what to do. Okay, I need to check some financial options, and then who should I hire? I don't know anyone. I don't trust in. And the construction sector, it's a very markets, let's say, very small companies, other big ones. So it's quite not easy to understand. So the aim of HORIS is really to help consumers through all the journey. So as you saw in the video, at the end, consumers, they could select and ask directly for quotations for professionals. And these professionals, they are dependent on the measures we said that they should choose on the region of the country. And they were first, to be in the platform, they have some checklists, and I know we'll talk about this. So we want to show they can trust in that consumers. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's our name as a consumer organization, which is, so if something is wrong, usually the guilt is from us, not from the contractors. So this was the aim, let's say.
Okay, thank you, Elsa. And what was the main difficulty you faced as consumer organization? We face, you can tell.
Well, I would say we start to let's say the first challenge was to translate these fragmented options and several options into the right measures to consumers. So from all the information, to try to help what is the best, and to try to also provide some information on costs of saving. So from everything that we have available.
The selection
To
of
select the best.
essential information, because it's true. I remember that during the platform front end display, there were huge discussion as usual. The tendency is to provide much more information than needed. On the contrary, people skip the information, just go straight to the point, want less and probably more kind of to the point information. But it's difficult to select, the really essential ones. So the real critical exercise was to probably this selection and to be.
I mean, as well as I'm saying, or even as a digital one-stop shop, it needs to be simple. Otherwise, the consumers, it doesn't work. So we need to make from big picture to have something easier to understand and to follow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Elsa. I will go now to Nova University, to Ines Valente, which, as you can read here, I want, and then also to, of course, Isabella Thibault from Energy, to really tell us how was, from your perspective, the selection, the good selection, how you realize this good selection of the legislation, the different level of legislation, starting from EU, but also national level, regional level, how you do scope, the good ones relevant for the consumer to become the point of reference, and maybe even subsidy-wise translate even the impact in CO2 emissions, how to really be meaningful for the consumers, because as you see in the sales count, the self-assessment, we provided some figures, potential saving, potential impact in terms of CO2 emission, but behind there was a database, a huge database, both of Nova University and of Energy. So I don't know who wants to start. Ines, maybe.
Legislation. But actually we have a presentation that ends up answering some of your questions. So we'll just run the presentation.
Yeah.
And so just as a
Ines wants to. Okay.
Okay, so I'm representing Nova School of Science and Technology, and Isabella is presenting Energy, which are two research centers in Portugal. So we more or less represent the scientific partners of HORIS that were behind all of the materials that were developed to feed the platforms. But firstly, as just an exercise, I would like to start by bringing you this picture that was actually a similar picture that was brought to us by our policy officer in one of our first project meetings. So it shows a picture really similar to this one and ask us if you knew what it is and how it relates to one-stop shops. So I'm not going to ask you what it is because it shows a pretty obvious picture, but this is a wedding planner, and just like a wedding planner is in charge of managing all these different aspects of a wedding, so the flowers, the venue, and the guests, a one-stop shop is also responsible for managing all these different aspects of home renovation, so that the citizen can just enjoy the ride and the final process of renovation. And so, was keeping in mind this role of what the one-stop should be, that we created our platforms and fed the content. And a little bit about the process here. So what we did was work on the typical home renovation barriers that can be easily solved with an online platform. And here we are talking about mainly in terms of information. So we did some desk research on technical, financing, and regulatory information. And we ended up collecting more than 150 technical measures, dozens of funding schemes available across the 3 countries, and also a lot of key regulatory points that were also fed to the board. And then, as also was said, we ended up with all this information that needed to be translated into a simple, non-bureaucratic, non-technical language so that all citizens can easily access the platform and navigate through all the home renovation process. We also included different scale of measures because we are aware that not all citizens want to renovate at the same level. Some citizens only want to do some quick fix at their home, and others want to renovate comprehensively. So we included from quick wins, which are more easy measures, to more complex and structural measures, divided in several topics, as you can see here on the left. So they are divided, for example, insulation, water heating, climatization, and so on. And then also based on our partner VG experience on developing these kind of platforms, we try to make it as easy to navigate as possible with all these different, as you can see, highlighted different buttons that call for action to the different tools of the platform, but also anchored in these 3D models that aim to resemble typical buildings in our Southern European countries, so that the citizen can access the platform and feel that they are entering their own. And so, as you can see here on left, you have several options of information and tools that you can visit, but I will just explore briefly two of them. So regarding financing and regulation, these are really two key aspects of home renovation. So we decided to include them in two places of the platform. So we created a dedicated pages to this aspect so that the citizen can just navigate to all the financial and regulatory landscape in their own country, and perhaps even to find more about an innovative local funding scheme that is in their country, or even a regulatory aspect of home renovation that they were not aware of. So this is really about creating energy literacy and literacy around home renovation.
Yeah, so maybe just to then on these technical measures, and as Ines was saying, what we really wanted as a first high-level idea was to collect all the measures that would be then adequate to the 3 different countries. So the measures that are in the platform are not the same for all the 3 countries, because we wanted to be tailored to the specificities of the country as the part of the legislation. And here, this first step, so in the green menu, the idea was to have a very high-level assessment. So what we did in terms of the information that is behind is some average consumption characteristics. So we have an average profile of the household, and then we also have specific characteristics like electricity emission factor for each country, and so on. So that's then users can easily estimate with a very rough estimation what would be the impact of applying different measures. Of course, this is really high-level estimate because it's common, so it's the same for all the users in the same country. But the idea was, okay, just have a first feeling of what would be the impact if I would do this. And the idea was not only to include energy savings and emissions, but also try to include also investment costs, saving in the energy bill, and also aligned with the new EPBD, also already increasing comfort, because this is also something important to have in mind. So not only having to account savings, but also try to have a measure on, try to measure the improvements in terms of comfort. And then going to the self-scan, so the idea of having a self-diagnose that would then be used to contact suppliers. Here we already go a bit deeper, so we do a more tailored estimation of the impact of the measures, but then also the decision tree, so the measures that we have, the list of measures that we have is dependent on the answers that the users provide in the questionnaire. And the idea, and maybe going a bit on the challenge here, the main challenge was we want to do something simple so that all users can answer, because being a digital one-stop shop, you don't have someone that can support you in answering, but at the same time, we want to give a dedicated and tailored answer to the user. And so here was really the challenge: how can we balance? And the idea was that, and if you go through the platform, you can see, so users have two options in some cases, so they can provide more detailed information regarding, for instance, energy usage. But if they don't want to provide, or if they don't know, what we do is we do have a database behind that can provide average consumption levels, but then also what are the most typical characteristics of the building according to their construction year. So this is the idea that, okay, I can provide everything, But if not possible, or if I don't want, or if I don't know, then I can use what would be the typical construction characteristics for the building on this age, in this country, in this region, and then the savings and the emissions and cost is based on this. Maybe a note here is that when we provide the measures as a result of the self-scan, we do not do any prioritization of the measures. So what we do is we list all the measures that will make sense for this user, because the idea is that they can select the ones that they think could be relevant for them, and then they can contact the suppliers. So we are not doing any assessment on what do you prioritize, if it's the investment cost, if it's the saving, if it's the emissions. We leave it open to the users to prioritize. And I think in a nutshell is this.
Absolutely. And what was the main obstacles, if I may ask you, both you face in implementing this for example, I'm thinking to the changes of the funding schemes in all our countries. So we actually took a picture at a certain moment, and then of course the subsidy change or expire. So what was the challenge? Was that one rather than something else?
So regarding the subsidies in all the financing options, that is indeed an obstacle. So trying to always keep these the platforms updated, and this is a challenge that is now with us and will be with us in the future. So we will always continue to update the platform every time a funding scheme closes or a new one arises.
But do you keep it monitoring as well?
Yeah.
So it's kind of
And
so rely on partners like you with a guarantee for the future to have an update. I guess we can say the same for energy prices. Or...
Yeah, well, I think the prices is something also that was challenging here, not only the energy prices, but then also construction wise. Things have been evolving quite rapidly, and so I would say, and it would be a disclaimer, so the energy, the costs of the investment costs that we have here are average investment costs or ranges of costs that we took a year ago. So maybe now we would need to revise them. And also the energy prices, which then this is easier to revise in a more continuous manner. But then the construction cost is something that takes a bit longer, because as you've seen, there are 100 something measures. So then to be able to update this in terms of cost is something that takes a bit longer and cannot do in a continuous manner, but maybe in a periodic.
I read somewhere, at least in Italy, that the cost of some of the materials, so building materials, increased up to 27% if compared to 2 years ago. So quite recent data in last March. So it's been really a huge increase.
So this is a challenge.
It's a challenge, yes. And of course, we need to be accurate, otherwise we are out of the market. Yes. Thank you both. And let's go now to really the implementation. So
There was already one question. Do you want to wait until the end, or we can already ask?
it depends if it's you can be. I'm open. If you can raise the question.
Very good. You mentioned before about the impacts, the improvements of health and savings and everything. Is it also about improvement in the energy performance class? Do you also somehow consider this in this algorithm?
Well, we did not provide any information on that. So whether it would pass from a D to a C, because also we do not ask enough information from the user to know in which class it would be, to know then how much it could go from one to the other.
But if I may complement, one of the requests of the user would be, because it's foreseen by the directive, to have an energy certificate building. And this, I guess, it will be mandatory in certain countries such as the Netherlands, France. I guess is implementing this in a disruptive way, saying that you cannot, of course, no rent, no sell your house. And we do, by the way, rely on professional, in the network of professionals that we build, building professional, but also general contractors. There are service provider of energy certification. So in a way, it's true that we do not provide which classes you will go to after the intervention. but we say ask a quotation and rely on a service provider to then assess the energy performance.
So the other question is, in how many languages is the platform which is?
So there are 3 countries and 3 languages.
So Spain, Spanish, Italian, and Slovenian language, and the Netherlands,
Slovenia.
and Slovenia in the previous version of the platform. So at the moment, I would say 5. Yeah. Thank you both. As I said, I don't know whether there is another question.
There are 4 questions from online participants. Would you answer?
For the online part, I mean, I don't want to discriminate online participants, so let's go, please. Introduce yourself, maybe.
No, they will read.
Sorry, I thought they would.
We have a question to Elsa.
Louder.
To Elsa, a consumer organisation provides the information and verification to the experts and contractors, but the research states that one-stop shops also support the process of the communication between the contractors and the experts. In the digital platform, how do you solve such communication issues?
So if I understand correctly, it's the link between consumers and the professionals.
Communication between the contractors and the experts.
Okay, communication. So, in terms, of course, in terms of the information, we're now looking at all the experts here, so to provide the best information. And I think probably we were talking about this in a second.
That's why it's important to wait to the end.
We rely, we have both auditors and to certify the professionals. So it's as a consumer organization, we are not certifying anyone. So we have a certification scheme, let's say, to have these trustable professionals. And here, yes, it is a challenge in a digital one-stop shop, like to follow, because after the consumer asks for the quotation, so then it will be between the homeowner and the professional. So they are doing the job. So this was really challenge, and this is something that we is a killer lesson, of course, to really to try to follow a bit more until the end of the process to make sure the relation between homeowner and the professional it's the best one, and the work done is really what we expect in the beginning.
I will tell you the 3 other questions, not to answer them, but to keep them in mind because you might integrate some answers. Are these tools open source, available for other one-stop shops? Then what is the level of adoption of the tools? Each per month, numbers of concrete renovation measures, something we discussed a lot in yesterday. And is there a human in the loop? Like if someone gets confused online or is looking for support, how do you connect? Or is it possible? So yeah, I would let you continue the presentations and maybe you can integrate some answers.
Yes, maybe
we can
the last one.
Yeah,
From
the last one.
Even not only on the sales plan, but also in the first informative part, we have one of the pages which is contact us. There is no like
CRM.
there is no CRM. We don't have a person to guide to people, but if they want some more information or they feel they need anything else, in each country we have an email and a phone for consumer organizations, and we in this case usually as a consumer organization we have a department who receive all the calls, and then they pass to technical experts. So, but it's more to help on the platform. We don't, in fact, this is not a physical one, so there is no one to really help consumers to go through this.
Was a kind of concept, do it yourself assessment rather than we ask for, we are a kind of backup to go through the platform, but we were not, we didn't intend to be the real, to play the general contractor role, to really provide the service this kind of service ourselves, opposed to demanding for the consumer organization. For the other two questions, as you said, Marina, better to answer at the end in terms of KPI, achievement, etc. Will be part of the discussion of the future. May I introduce you to Miriam? To Miriam Garcia Ernesto, from representing AIR, so the building sector basically, and the service part of the service provider, as well as Rita Suarez from Bureau Veritas, who helped us to certify the professional and even to train them along the journey, because again, to be answered by professional, potentially interested to be on the platform to assess their level of compliance, if I may, in terms of requirements. It was not given, because in the end, again, it was a question, another challenge, if I may anticipate a bit, maybe, was to really reduce the new huge number. Started with, I don't remember how many measure at the beginning in the checklist they had to be compliant with. We say, okay, we need to kind of select the really important ones, the best. So I don't know who's gonna start to describe this, Miriam or you.
So I'm Anahita Swash from Veritas. We just said we are responsible to develop and implement a quality assurance scheme and develop also the compliance-oriented training program. So let me just start saying that when we talk about digital one-stop shops, we often focus on tools and platforms, but in reality, success depends on trust, and trust depends on people. So our key question was, how do we ensure that professionals and companies behind the OSS are reliable, compliant, and trustworthy? So following this, one of our main objectives was to develop and implement the quality assurance scheme. This was not about to create a new certification, but to build a structured process to ensure that professionals and companies comply with the existing legal requirements, have the right licenses and registration, insurance and qualifications, and some specific requirements from each intervention technology.
In this point, I have something. I'm Miriam from ANER, it's the National Association of Companies working in building renovations. So sometimes relying in professional association can help, because to be associated in ANER, for example, in Spain, is very important the level of requirement you need in terms of legal. So taking this path, maybe it's easier to get a professional who are really accurate and legally they can do all this kind of stuff and they can organize better. So yeah, keep it back.
So the goal was really to create and ensure a level of trust in consumers. In parallel, we have developed also a compliance-oriented training program. The idea was not to create a technical training, but to support mainly in professionals in understanding the legal obligations, regulatory requirements, consumer obligations, and some compliance and good practice also on the technical.
May I add a comment to complement what you are saying, just to share with all the participant non-partners. We did session with engineers association in Italy together with ANER and in all countries to double check the meaningfulness of the measure. So how this measure, you who are engineers, are really kind of essential one, because of course, as we know, working on policy, we have standards, norms. Some of them, okay, I don't want to say that are nice to have, but I see that kind of ancillary. But then there is a skeleton, the backbone of the real essential and substantial one that we double check, and not just according to Code of Veritas or consumer organization, but from people on the field, or Engineer Association, ANIT in Italy, ANERA in Spain, and Portugal. We double check with them. But the point is really, we had a kind of sound check on the field, just to make you perceive the hard work that has been done during this month.
Yes. So we have developed in total 23 learning models across the 3 countries, and it was delivered through a traceable and structured platform from Google Veritas. So the approach was really to combine these 2 elements, verification and training, and these aim to strengthen the quality and the trust on the one-stop shop. So to say a little more about our lessons learned. So one of our lessons that we learned with the professionals from the feedback that we have from them is that training needs to go further. So while regulatory content is relevant, some experienced professionals expect more complex content, and especially on legislative updates and technical content and aspects. We also learned that engagement is a real challenge. Even with our follow-ups, professionals usually don't have time or don't see immediately the value behind it. And finally, expectations need to be carefully managed. Some professionals expect that this platform generates business opportunity. They were a little bit confused with the platform from Green Menu. So it is a lesson to learn, because we need to focus on clear onboarding and clear communication with them. And this is the key point for future improvements.
Thank you, Anna.
Going back to the professional point of view, we think the main thing is the difference between the works to be in charge, because companies are quite different. So we have to put also the focus in professional made works. We have as a big reference that small works doing in the house. Usually it's a decision, simple, individual or family, short term. Heights are important, but it's better long-term finance, for example, and normally they are made by small companies or self-employed companies or people. So the complexity is normally the advice comes from family and friends, and the people have their own confidences. Okay, it's my cousin, my whatever. So normally invoices are not on the table, and 80% or more than 90% that the works made come from this kind of this typology. But in the other side, completely different companies are the ones who are doing building renovation. Building renovation is a long-term and complex decision. And the decision making is at a great complexity, with the high dependence of heights and long-term financing, because if people save money in terms of energy consumption, or they make the life better in accessibility and a lot of things that really improve the quality of life of people, they invest. But normally people don't pay more than 100 or 150 euros per month. They pay for a long time, but not a lot of money. If we want maybe for the volume real. So long-term financing sometimes is better than simple heights. Other is the building manager is the key point to drive this kind of renovation. And it requires high specialized companies that are not always the same. And it's always invoices, always everything is safe, and need a real following and oversight of the implementation. And it's always neighborhood focused. So in this case, I want to put on the table that if we want to real renovation impact in terms of emission saving, it came from building, because in Spain and in a lot of places in Europe, people living in buildings, more than 80%, should be renovated. And if we want to reach this kind of objectives in terms of climate, we need to focus in aggregation and neighborhood projects. That's to get people put in contact, make together, thinking about how we renovate houses, because in a small process, so like my windows, my kitchen or whatever, just probably save little, but they don't have a real impact. So and the key point is we think optimize the initial screening, just to be sure what is the need or the work to be done to prevent the companies are being overhauled for quotes that never came in real works. So it makes it easier for everyone to give a quick result and really get the value from platforms who are giving you business, of course. And the other point is how we drive and keep people, companies, and users in the platform. Then we need to add value. We say people trust in people, platform and technology and digital renovation absolutely necessary, but as support, as a tool to connect something so complex.
Thank you, Miriam. Actually, basically, the platform in itself is not the objective; it's the means to put people in contact with each other. And also, what you highlight, let's say, kind of disalignment between the initial ambition of providing entire home renovation service, integrated services, and the response that we had to probably the fact of the market reality, asking for small intervention, created kind of issue that you will then be discovering impacted our business model initially. I guess this is the last slide for you.
I mentioned. So yeah, just simply giving an advisor. For example, in Spain, we have the Agante rehabilitador. It's a legal figure, a legal profile, and will be people who give you an external vision and a real advice. So Spain regulation is driving this way. I think it's a good point having people in
supporting, yeah.
Not economical interest. It's just giving you the best advice for your situation,
your age, support,
your income, your house, exactly. So that's
okay. Thanks a lot, Thibault. Let's now introduce Paolo Fernando Cuglia from GNE Finance, who support us in actually designing the business model of HORIS to survive to the ground, to be sustainable, self-sustainable in the future. This was the ambition that we've been actually really discussing now after the launch of the platform that has just 1 year of life. So, Paola, what do you want to share in terms of with us in terms of model that can create value not only for the partners, because for sure I feel enriched by this experience. Overcoming all the obstacles, but especially the ambition was here to scale up, so to really produce value beyond the shoulder. So where we stand, what's the status?
Okay, thank you very much, Lisa. Thank you everyone to be here. I think we have listened a lot about the tool, about how we feed it and about how it works. I would like to go like the first steps that we did when we were thinking about this business model. You said before, like do it yourself. We were also at the beginning thinking we'll do it with us, but and also doing that CRM, But also we have to realize that we were taking a platform that was already done in Netherlands and then bring it to 3 countries. So all this journey has been really testing all these reflections that we had, all these that we put in a paper, and then we try to transpose it in this digital platform that we were using the knowledge that they brought in Netherlands. So many things we could put it there, but other things were just in the paper. We couldn't really implement it. So we learned a lot, like what are these expectations that we could have at the beginning, all these discussions. I mean, many things we were realizing that could happen, but we were like, okay, let's trust in the platform and let's trust in the experience and then taste it. No? And the idea, of course, all the time was like taste it and then recover have the iteration with the professionals and with the customers. So I would say that the tool is important, but also there are other things that are really important. I would like to highlight five ideas. The first one is like who is leading this project, and I think from our perspective, like the consumer organizations are the good leaders because they have the trust already with the consumers. As Elsa was saying, like if something is happening with any service, the consumers are going to the organization and say, this is happening to me. So they trust them. And also they are really used to deal with services and to understand how it goes the market and try to connect these both sides. So I think this is like the good point of HORIS, and this is something that we could realize that it's in the good way. The added value that we were also mentioning, of course, is all these tools that we could build. But one problem that we are facing in another one-stop shops, and maybe Federani also will share this, like in the private, in the public one-stop shops, it's really difficult when a citizen goes there and will have advice or support a bit in the journey, can give you a list of professionals. And what we could do with this platform was in an easy way to connect the user with the professional. And that was, I mean, and of course we face it like there are many things that should be implemented and improved in the platform. This matchmaking, categorize better the professionals, but this achievement to connect it, it's like a quite new, and it's the added value. So for that, the other important thing, other key-based idea is like the learning on the process. And at that point that we could run 1 year all these platforms, we did, I mean, the organizations did a questionnaire to the professionals and a questionnaire to the users. And from the answers that we received, we could understand that as the platform is built, the professional, it's a last step that you are not seeing it till the end. And we realized that it's really a key point. So it should be visible more at the beginning. The users should be more aware that what kind of works the professionals could do. So the idea of improving this HORIS platform would be to put more attention on where are the professionals, it maybe showing what kind of works they are doing or they have done. So also encourage the user to do the work. So this is already like learning by doing, gathering information, and then improving the material. This brings me to the fourth idea that, of course, this needs investment and to plan in a long term. You know that the market is volatile. We were also mentioning this about the prices, the materials, decisions that sometimes are really hard to do. We are implementing a lot of like EPBD and directives and transposing it to force the market, but still, from a private perspective, you need to plan in several years and also to consider that the first years you will be losing money. You will not, I mean, you are investing, but I mean, for do all these improvements that we already have. I mean, because I really think HORIS now is the platform, but all the learnings that we got, this is now HORIS, the value. The value, this is the value, yeah.
Yeah, and but it needs investment and to do it. And the last idea is to recognize what others did. We built this platform transposing the green menu, but now we realize that it's more like an intermediary, like organization or consumer organization are more the intermediary, and they have to understand how to connect these two parts, the consumer and the professional, and so it's more like a business B2B, business to business platform. And
but we don't want to spoil the last panel, so
Okay.
we like to later on in the discussion of which kind of business model we imagine for the future, being a demand aggregator, being a collective purchase organizer for PV panels, heat pumps. We've done it already thanks to another brand, PV pumps. So
yeah, I would just say that I think we gathered a lot of information from the professionals that really are giving really value to increase and to improve the platform. So I think we thanks.
And thanks also for the work that really Paula, believe me, and I must acknowledge did to really gather information for all of us, because the learning by doing things means that you need to do the work and provide the data and the data and share to try to build the model that kind of, so really the wedding planner should fuel the kind of development. Okay, thanks a lot. It's been challenging, I know, and it's not finished, it's not over. But let them watch beyond our partner, beyond our network, and I'm very pleased to introduce you to Mariangela Luceri, who is Federal EU Peers representative. Several times we have been invited and engaged to share our one-stop shop experience, share with others, learn with others. But please tell us where we stand in the huge grid. How many do we have? One-stop shop in Europe? You said 100.
No,
You know how many do we have? Pierre-Antoine?
In a GRC report, it was saying over 80.
80. Okay, roughly speaking. So
But like said, supported, I think it's 17 members in 17 member states, but it can be several per member state or cross member states,
okay.
and also neighboring accession countries. Accession.
Yes, because the ambition here is also to not just to celebrate the end of the project, the achievement, but really to share learnings and try to really build on it because this is really, I guess, the value of European projects, really kind of trigger replicability of the best practices. Please, the floor is yours.
So thank you for having me. I'm from New Peers. This is a European project funded by the IEECP, and it's the community of practice for integrated home renovation services, or basically for one-stop shops for home renovation, and then support there's public authorities, energy agencies, financing institutions, and basically everyone within the residential renovation market. I have to say it was a bit complicated for me because, as you mentioned, usually when we talk about digitalization of one-stop shops, we come to you. So it's complicated to find someone else. I found two, let's say. One is the multi-home. This is also a live city project developed in Plovdiv in Bulgaria. Of course, they developed the one-stop shops with a lot of objectives, a lot of services outside digital platform. But then they created also this, the translation, it's a renovation twin. And it's very interesting because this is a 3D map of all the residential building in the Plovdiv region, both individual households and condominiums or family apartments. And basically this provides two options to the users, to the homeowners. One is to check, according to the building topology, what other households or buildings with similar characteristics did, what results they achieved, and basically how they funded the renovation measures. So there was also a public fund for renovation in Bulgaria until not too long time ago. And so this can act as success cases for people to be inspired on what they could do. And then they also have this called Renovation Motivator. It's basically a site of the platform that allows building managers or owners to plan the measures, to see what they could do, how they could do them, and so in terms of companies and fundings and so on, and to have scenarios according to also their ambitions and funds, so if they want to go for light renovation or deep renovation. Another one, which I think maybe you heard, it's OpenGela. This is the one-stop shops funded in the Basque country in Spain, also through the Life City program, or recently to the Life City program. And it's one platform mainly managed by local one-stop shops. So every time a local one-stop shops have new measurements, like they do a new energy audit for residential or public buildings, they input the data into the platform. And then the platform has two main users. One is for local authorities and regional authorities, so public authorities, and it's the Hoja de Ruta, apologies on how I'm pronouncing it. And these, in the public authorities, they have the options to filter, for instance, the map by building typology, by energy class of the buildings, and so on. And then they can, first of all, see the status quo in their regions, on the local authority. They can also see the results from measures they already implemented, and then they can plan renovation strategies or plan measures in their territory. And the other part of the platform is dedicated to the citizens. So every homeowner, building manager has an account, can have an account on this platform, can first of all see what's the average consumption of its own apartment or of its own house, and then also check plan scenarios, again, depending on their ambitions and their funds available. And very similar to your platform, for instance, they have a set of technical measures that they can implement. And for each technical measure, for instance, changing windows, they have the type of windows that they could install, divided by material, impact, and other indicators that now I don't recall. And once they chose the measures they want to implement, the platform gives them the contact details of available technology providers in the area, as well as the indications and support on applying to funds for these measures. Then it's not here, honestly, because I just discovered it after sharing with you the slides and working on something else, but it was also very interesting. The Renovat, it's this project carried out by the Walloon region. It's for public authorities, it's for public buildings, so not really part of UPRs. But they have, first of all, the project is basically what it would be called implementation model in the HORIS system, but for public authorities. And then they have this platform called Colibri. It's very interesting. There is also a mobile app, and every public building in the region has an account, and they can check day by day the energy consumptions of their buildings. They receive full support for the implementation of renovation measures, because again, this is an implementation model. And they can use the platform not only to monitor the renovation works, but also to coordinate the renovation works with the contractors, which are also part of this platform. These were the most interesting one I found. Again, yours is also very interesting and one of the most successful one. And if I can steal one more minute of your time to simply present to you peers. So again, this is a community of practice. We invite you to join the community, and know Liz and colleagues are already part of it. What we do is a community, so we network with our members. We try to build capacity building programs designed and do with the members. So for instance, I am co-manager of the transnational community, so the European community. And every time the topic of the next capacity building webinar is decided by members. So they are the one proposing it and the one voting for it. And so we just deliver the capacity building on the most awarded topic, so the most interesting topic for the community. We also work on advocacy, particularly towards national governments. on the role of one-stop shops and on the importance of one-stop shops. And then we provide visibility to one-stop shops. So basically, invite you on events to speak and present. We have also what we call Who is Who session. So every month we interview a one-stop shop to give them visibility. And we work not only at European level, but also at national level. So we have national communities in the countries you see here. And then hopefully soon, we will also establish new national communities in Slovenia, Croatia, and Poland. Now, I understand that you're here and you cannot do it right now, but please note it down and do it later. We are carrying out a survey on the impact of one-stop shops. This is very important for us that everybody who works in the renovation market fill in this survey, particularly one-stop shops, because it helps us to, first of all, map the one-stop shops, map their impact, and then help us to advocate for the one-stop shops movement. But the survey is also for other actors of the renovation market, because we want to understand on one side what are the enabling conditions that favor one-stop shop movement, and on the other side what are, of course, the challenges hindering their success. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mariangela. Thank you. Thank you. I think we can have 3 questions. I don't know whether there are questions here in the room. Please introduce yourself. We don't have the micro, so.
Hello, I'm Christopher Lorenzo. I'm developing the European Boss Lab Equal to Schools. It's about climate education and renovation in schools, but linking to neighborhoods and villages community. So in the discussion, there was said about actually the importance of wider stakeholders engagement in these concepts of energy approach. I've worked for more than 12 years in Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So business is not so forward looking, it is more looking back. And what we are facing with the European Boss Lab is try to give a priority to youth and to introduce new ways of renovation. So the main market will be not new buildings, it will take care of existing buildings. This is step-by-step renovation. This is human interaction with the people. So the digital tools are very important, and the community that is around is even more important. So I found this remark was very important.
What's the question?
So the question is about how can we get in these stakeholders also collective energy renovation cooperatives or citizens collective, training collective being integrated in this, because this is very important to get the results and to get also more improved results.
To get more impact.
In 15 years, it is no less than 15 years. In 2040, it's minus 85% we've achieved. So this is not business as usual continuation, this global community improvement. So this is why I wanted to put this question.
Thank you.
For future.
For the future. One of the learning is aggregation point of view for neighborhoods. So we live in social media world, so connecting people is the way we have to do it. So use platform to connect people, to develop neighborhood or projects to have point of view of multi-energy saving in terms of there are places where you need a community, other with use renewable gases, other electricity or whatever. So analyzing what the big places is the way we can improve. So you see the real need, then look the way you finance it and try to pay the people.
At the same time, as being also knowledge and not by chance that consumer organizations are leading and trying to aggregate the demand. If you've been leading in Belgium, of course, that Tasha was not part of this coalition, though it's part of Euroconsumers. It's kind of energy guide also initiative, trying to really guide people starting from their needs. So in a simplified track, they actually support people to get in touch with some professional. So it's kind of similar way, but more streamlined. And by the way, the importance and the lesson learned that we have learned together is really to probably, like for the example of Federan, be more geolocalized or select a smaller area, not having the ambition to cover all the country at once, but starting from maybe kind of localized area and try to favor interaction among the ones interested in isolation or for example, windows, to create also group and collective, purchases and have better offer from providers. This is one. I don't know whether there are other questions because we are running out of time, please.
Yes, my name is Jonas. I'm working from the International Union of Property Owners. Thank you very much for your presentations. I have a question about this self-scan tool, because to me it sounds a bit similar to like building renovation passport, like also part of the EPBD. Is the self-scan tool also meant to be a building renovation passport? Is somehow integrated into that tool?
You can
not at the moment. But yeah, of course, and we are saying in the second step and with the lessons learned, we need to modify the journey and to and increase the added value. So it's to like the energetic classes and these passports would be like a new layer for the future.
So we were inspired for sure by the honest. I mean, what question you need to answer to assess and self-assess your energy consumption and have an idea of the investment, as said, or what's needed to improve your footprint to CO2 emission. We should be what would be needed by building. But as mentioned by Thibault at the very beginning, the national kind of standards of the plan to set the standards is under construction, following the guidelines of the European Commission, and not all member states, unfortunately, are at the same level of readiness. Rather, they are kind of postponing and looking into the exception instead of looking into what we can really achieve it in a faster way, or how to develop even the market actors kind of technology. Because I just want to share with you one only data, all the that you probably know better than me, the technology that we are talking about, solar panel, pumps, batteries are 90% imported by China. So we absolutely need to also rethink this value chain to generate value, to really kind of feed the offer with the demand and the other way around to better serve the demand, providing, reliable service from all points of view. I'm thinking also to the after sales. I'm thinking to the prolonging the life of heat pumps that I put in my house. So actually, there is a huge kind of immense work to do if we really want to be sustainable and impactful, and in real terms, not just for, by silos by silos. So the challenge ahead is really a common one, and we need to work with a multi-stakeholder approach for sure. I think our speakers deserve a big applause, so thank you all.
So we have a break until 11. If you want, we will have a 10-15 minutes now relaxation, stretching in the room, and then you have time for a coffee.
So hello everyone again. We're going to talk about the EPBD, the revised energy performance of building directive that sets a clear direction, accelerate the renovation, empower consumers, and leverage the digital tools. But translating this into a seamless data-driven renovation journey remains a challenge, as we already saw in the first panel. So now in this panel, we will explore how the one-stop shop digital tools and policy frameworks can come together to make this renovation simpler, smarter, and scalable. So I will invite for this panel, I will start with João Pedro Gouveia. João Pedro is currently the principal researcher and coordinator of energy and climate area at the Center for Environmental and Sustainability Research, part of the Nova University and also part of our project. Thank you. I also asked Dimitrios, I must say your last name, I'm sorry. So Dimitrios is currently the senior in energy efficiency expert at IEECP, managing the multiple EU funded projects. And IEECP is also part of our group and consortium. So now I invite Elsa Guzman from Euroconsumers. Elsa is responsible for the policy and advocacy related with issues, external communications related with consumers. Elsa is part of Euroconsumers, which is the global consumer group that gathered the consumer associations from Portugal, where we are, where we are coming. And Proteste in Portugal, Open in Spain, Alta Consumer in Italy, Testacha in Belgium. Now, Euroconsumers Elsa in Poland and also Proteste in Brazil. And last but not least, Adrian Joyce. Adrian is director of the Renovate Europe campaign. For a long time, he works for as a Secretary-General of Efficiency Buildings in Europe, and is also part of the board member of HORIS. So I represent also the board. Thank you. So to start, I will ask not really the same question, but I can start with you, João. From a research and system perspective, what is the most transformative element of this revised EPBD for the renovation journey, particularly thinking on the digitalisation point? What is your view as a research and history?
Thank you, Elsa. So good morning, all. Thank you for the invitation. I would say that, and looking for the past as well, data is really the start of everything. So and that's what we also try to connect to in HORIS in our digital platform, but looking broader on a European perspective and also at the Portuguese context, we see that data is slowly starting to drive the change in the renovation. I'm saying slowly because we have the energy performance certificates that are kind of rolling across Europe. There are slightly different methodology, different data accessibility. So I would say that we have more data than what we are using it for. So,
to ask you, we are generating data, we know. We are really using data. Really?
So that we are kind of getting data from different sources. So one, it's clearly the energy performance certificates. So we get insightful data coming from there. But in a lot of countries, even starting with Portugal, we cannot get access to the individual data sets because, of course, of GDPR and so on. That's maybe a balance there. But data is not available for all, or a lot of barriers to get that data. Because, for example, the EPCs are really relevant to more insightful information, not only for one-stop shops to make this connection and knowledge, but also for example, monitoring or identifying vulnerable neighborhoods that need the deeper renovation, but energy poor communities based on the building's performance. So there is something there that we are not using. And then also together with one-stop shops, partially HORIS, but others have come across that, surveys to collect information also on the consumers, on the citizens. So what are their level of discomfort? What are their needs also around the renovation? What are the challenges? It's more on the information side, it's more on the funding side. So we are getting also that information. And from what our experience, especially in Portugal, with not only one-stop shop project, but also with surveys to citizens and to communities, is that we are getting information in different ways. So I'm collecting maybe with a survey, and then we're collecting with a different survey. And then it's difficult to match because, so I would say that we need to streamline one, data collection processes. So for example, for the certificates, that's the process also of EPBD, but also the part of streamlining the accessibility and sharing the information, which I think is still a big barrier. So we have more data, and in fact we are using it for policy support or for renovation of buildings itself at a larger scale than we need. So we need to really push that from data to knowledge to policies and interventions. That's what.
We are on the path, but a little bit far away.
Far away, but the problem is that we need to accelerate it because we need to renovate way more buildings. We have a lot of people in Europe on energy poverty. We need to strengthen different, like we need to promote insulation. And then when we're seeing funding schemes coming from, for example, from the Recovery and Resilience Plan, we are not really tackling insulation. We are going first for heat pumps or first for solar PV, which usually it's easier interventions. So there's a problem there as well. So for consumers and for people to understand really what's the added value of renovation in their houses beyond energy saving. And I think it's important to say, especially with all these targets in Southern European countries. So if I'm doing an intervention in Portugal, in Spain, in Italy, like Malta, Cyprus, and so on, maybe the impact of renovation is not immediately energy savings, it's more increased thermal comfort, better health, and other things that can be connected there.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Dimitris, from your hands-on experience with the implementation across Europe. What is the key element, let's say, of this revised EPBD for the renovation?
Thank you, Elsa. Many thanks for the invitation. Good morning to all. So yes, I mean, I have been working for the EPBD for years from different positions. Now I'm in ICP coordinating the project, but before I was engineer working exactly for the EPBD. Before I was back in the ministry in Greece, transposing and implementing the EPBD. So yes, I can tell, at least in my opinion, this version of the EPBD, this certificate, by far the most, let's say, advanced in a way that it addresses all the previous challenges and discussions, debates with experts, financial institutions, but also citizens and consumers organizations. So it means this recast is really a big opportunity for member states and for being properly implemented also for everybody, for the everybody involved in this renovation process or in the building construction chain. I would say that it is also quite challenging because it goes exactly to the point. So it has very interesting points like the National Energy Building Renovation Plans, National Building Renovation Plans, together with the Annex 2, the template that the member states need to fill in with specific data and information. I cannot agree more with what Joao said before about data. I think this is the key element in this directive, and it's evident all around. Article 16, data access, Article 22, data to the Building Stock Observatory, comprehensiveness, reliable data. I think this is something important to keep in mind. For me, the most, let's say, challenging, and from what I remember from the negotiations, the more debated article is the one about mandatory units performance standards, MEPS, which is gonna increase the demand for innovation. We need to see how they're gonna implement it, how it will be implemented in practice, but it's gonna push its innovation rates. Only to see Article 18 and asking about the local authorities to have one-stop shop means that yes, the EPBD provides the tools. Only to see that we have articles on comprehensive EPCs, renovation passports. For me, it is very important to say that this person provides you all the tools. And so to mention and challenges, yes, I'm not saying that it is easy. Actually, I was in another conference event workshop last week. We were discussing with member states, and it was exactly the same question. Yes, the EPBD now it's clear, but it's so difficult to implement it because of all the work that needs to be done for different areas. So they need capacity, they need coordination. It's not amazing, but it's an opportunity. For me, it's an opportunity. I agree with Joao that data should be behind everything. If we need to have evidence-based information, if we need to have good policies, we need reliable data. But okay, let's discuss more about it later because I can speak 4 hours.
So, because you're talking about this policy, so I'm sorry, I'll just step back to Adrian. Sorry. We're talking now about policy. And do you see a gap between the ambition of the EPBD and the current capacity of the member states to deliver?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, it's like the interest. I'm really delighted to be here. It's great to be representing the board, the HORIS project. And I would say the short answer to the question is yes. And this is a gap that we identified at the Mission Buildings Europe years ago. In fact, the previous version of the directive was our very first recommendation was that within the ministries of the member states, they should boost the capacity of human resources in the ministries to assist in the implementation of the directive. And our observation is that in only very few countries has this actually happened in the 10-year period since that directive was first in place. I know my own country has managed, that's Ireland. They have more than doubled the number of staff in the government ministry in the last mandate. But that gap is going to hinder the implementation of this directive moving forward. But beyond that, I would comment that high political decision makers do not see the importance of this directive. And there are too many countries in the European Union, including the largest countries, that are not implementing the directive because the higher political decision takers do not see the value of this directive. And it is for us a lament that the now repeated energy crisis that's happening because of the stress on this has not helped the member states wake up and realize that in 2022 they did the wrong things. Okay, it was needed to give direct subsidies to people to avoid revolution, but that money was burnt, it's wasted, roughly 650 million euro. And we had hoped that they would have learned the lesson that today structural measures can be put in place. So this gap is not just a gap, I think, of human resources, a gap of understanding the importance of the challenge and the benefits that can flow politically from addressing the very poor performance of government.
Thank you. And last question was, you are customers and humans. I'm sorry, Elsa. We heard about systems implementation and so on, but renovation is also the decision of renovation is made by people. From a consumer perspective, does this grow in this digital layer is simplifying, or do you think it's complicating a bit the innovation journey?
Well, first of all, as Euro consumers, we're a big fan, a big supporter of digital tools to empower people, to empower consumers. So I think it's something also as a consumer group we need to embrace, but not just take it for granted. I mean, it's not because it's a digital tool that it is a global solution. We need to shape it in a way that it actually delivers to the needs of the brands who will need to do the work. We introduced Euro consumers. I mean, Euro Global Group in the top 6 membership organizations, which means that we have a little finger on the pulse of what's bothering them, and together with our surveys and thorough insight that we get from that, I mean, it puts us in the pretty unique position to really echo the expectations and the experiences of consumers. And I can tell you this, consumers care about climate change, they care about being more sustainable. It might not be as high on the political agenda anymore, but it is still very high on the agenda of people. And they want to do their bit, and they're asking us for help. That's why, as your consumers, we made the donations with the right tools, with the right information, and at the same time, we work with the market so they can actually deliver those sustainable alternatives. And if you know that people feel when it comes to housing, this is one of the areas where they feel they can have the most impact, then it shows how important it is being directed and put it into practice with the right digital tools. Like I said, we don't need to take these digital tools for granted. They only work if they are shaped in a way that addresses the needs. And that's why, I mean, the question, will it simplify their lives or will it make it more complex? For me, that's not even a question that we should consider. The answer is clear. It should be there to simplify their lives. And it can be if we design these tools in the right way. If we design it well, it can be a single entry point, so they can navigate different kinds of information. They can translate, very difficult technical jargon in something that people really can understand. It can, offer a personalized journey, personalized information, really custom made based on their very individual situation, and it can bring together, different practical elements like what are the costs, what are the savings, what are the financial opportunities, and what are the trustworthy partners to connect with. I mean, wouldn't that make all of our lives easier? I mean, I renovated my home 14 years ago, and my husband and myself are still recuperating from the trauma. We don't have appetite to start with the second round. I mean, I would have loved to have a tool like HORIS to help me with that. But again, you need to design it right, because if people do not trust it, I mean, if it's just a way to translate new rules or if it's very theoretical, people are overwhelmed with information, or they are asked to provide all of these kind of technical details they don't have, or it's just too difficult to understand, or they think the platform is commercially inspired. Well, I can guarantee you that it will not last long. It will die. So, I mean, the tool should be there not to take the complexity off the shoulders of people, not to add more complexity. And a tool as such is not a miracle solution, but a tool that is well designed and so let's go for a longer rounds. And we are talking about this ambition, but now let's go for this ambition. And João, we already talked about the data. Data driven innovation. How should data be structured and connected to real support of the decision making? Your opinion, how should we execute?
So I think we have already done through at European level, at national level, even sometimes at regional level, we have done the diagnosis of the problem. So we know that in talking about different countries, but maybe some countries have a higher vulnerability in the winter time, some other on the summer time. So there are differences across countries. We have the data, but the thing is that when specifically I'm looking to the policies and the funding schemes, we see there is a massive gap. And the massive gap, I would say, is because on one side, it's in general public funding that needs to be spent fast. And I think that here is the problem, because we had a lot of money already coming from the Recovery and Resilience Plan, Renovation of homes. We'll be having hundreds of millions across Europe from the Social Damage Fund, targeted specifically to vulnerable consumers. And what we have seen by ministries at different levels is the urgency of spending money. And the urgency of spending money is a bit against the pace of renovation. So that means what? When we assess, for example, the funding schemes in Portugal, what we have seen is that only 2% was for insulation. So research, knowledge, practical knowledge know that we have massive problems of insulation. And I can translate this to this. So unfortunately, Portugal is the second worst country with the higher number of homes with dampness, leak, and mold after Cyprus. So both Cyprus and Portugal, clearly we are not the coldest, the rainiest countries in Europe, as you know, both countries. And we are the first Cyprus, the second Portugal. So 1 in each 3 houses have problems of humidity, damp, and mold in Portugal. So I'm doing the diagnosis to you. What's your reply? For sure, not solar PV. For sure, not heat pumps. Would be insulation. Will be windows. And then I'm going to see the funding schemes. Only 2% of the interventions was for insulation. Why? It's very different to make a renovation and to apply even to free windows change, a bit more standardized, or a solar PV or a heat pump, than to renovate my house, especially on the part on the insulation part. So I would say that the challenge of the speed of I need to finalize the funding. I need to, so the Portuguese government or whatever government needs to reply to the commission saying, okay, we spent the money in this year and so on. It's a complex process. So I would say that stable funding scheme that consumers, the citizens know that will be always available is super important. If not, we'll be failing this continuously, and especially on the social climate fund targeting more vulnerable consumers. So that's one point of the challenge. Then I would say that that means also that the funding schemes, either regional or national, should steer consumers. So if I give people the opportunity to buy on the same funding scheme, to do installation or buy a refrigerator, even they are important for specific groups, higher efficient equipment, then I'll just go for the fast and the big thing. That means we ultimately could be spending money. At the end, we spend whatever, 300 million euros on renovating homes. But when we dig deeper, we didn't do the structural things, the long-term structural ones. That's where the one-stop shops also can need to integrate the deeper connection with funding schemes. So that knowledge, that assistance to also to steer consumers to the better choices. Not the easiest, fastest, the cheaper choices in general, especially public funding schemes are supporting the renovations. And then just a final thought on that, also that my understanding from my knowledge in Portugal specifically there is that people are waiting for public money to renovate their homes. And why? Again, 30% of the population is at a high risk of poverty. Probably 3 out of 10 million Portuguese, I'm giving the Portuguese example, are on energy poverty. So I don't have money even to do anything. So besides a deeper renovation. So people are just waiting for public money, which is a bit also difficult. If we want to renovate almost virtually 100% of the buildings in a specific country up to 2050, the pace of renovation, here, just do the maths, we are not getting it. We are delayed and we don't.
And Dimitris, you have a lot of experience in different European projects. What do you think it is the difference between a one-stop shop model that really works or some others they have started now to implement as a pilot? So what can we also learn for HORIS? How can we, what are the key success factors to really scaling up the one-stop shops?
So for me, the most important thing is engagement from the very beginning of the project. That I think that HORIS is a good example. But why do I say that? And what do I mean? Usually, and maybe this is not the case only for one-stop shops type of project, but for other type of projects as well. That usually we design and we develop projects that we do it ourselves without a complication procedure, without real engagement from the very beginning, without targeting the people that we are developing the tools for. So HORIS is about owners, citizens, it's all about renovation. So who should you be targeting? Citizens. For me, that's why engaging the consumer, hosting the platform directly, the consumers organization is very important. And I mean, I was checking the results, the outputs, and it was amazing. The balance to all these thousands of people. Okay, you can tell it's not a KPI, but it's important as compared to other ones. So for me, this is the most important thing, that you need to already think about engagement and actual exploitation before the project, not start thinking about it as the project runs or at the very end of the project. It is important for the projects, for one-stop shops, to be tailored to the needs of the specific country, municipality, city, whatever it is about. Because as we've seen, conditions are different. So what is maybe applicable in Portugal is not in Ireland, and so on. Different socioeconomic conditions. It's also renovation. It's also very emotional, as as said before, it's not that easy. So you need to consider all these elements together, but not just from the technical perspective that sometimes we do when we design projects. We need to help people in the center, and I think this is what made HORIS successful.
Okay, and as Dimitri was saying, in fact, the real test is if it works or not for users. What do you think else that makes this digital renovation journey usable to us? Where usually these platforms sometimes they just fail. What do you think? What could be from customer's perspective? What should we have? I must have.
Maybe two, maybe even three considerations. First of all, a digital renovation journey will only work if it is designed for consumers and with consumers. Do not forget, they are the ones who will need to use it, need to embrace it, and they will need to do the renovation still on ground. That will not be digital. And I believe it's a mistake that is often made. I mean, we start from a very real problem. We have a goal to achieve, we have regulation that needs to be put into practice, and we put a digital tool in it, not taking into account the ones who would actually need to use it. So from a theoretical academic perspective, it's completely correct, but from a practical perspective, it's a disaster. And we know where we can go wrong. So for example, if as a consumer, you don't even know where to start, or they ask you a bunch of technical information and certificates that you don't even know where to get, or you do not trust the platform and the recommendations, and you feel it might be just commercially driven, or it's just another piece of complex, fragmented information that does not connect it with actually practical tools, trusted contractors to work with. Well, yeah, you feel overwhelmed as well. So a digital tool or a digital journey can be as mind-blowing as we can design it, but if it's not designed with consumers at heart, it will never reach its full potential. And that's the best scenario. In the worst case scenario, it will just be put on a pile of missed opportunities. And that's why indeed it's so important. And I know I represent consumer organization, but it's really important to design it with consumer organizations involved. And that's also what we are here to do as Zero Consumers. Maybe secondly, I mean, okay, we can do a digital journey, but in the end, the renovation will need to be made on ground with real people, with real contractors, with real problems that might require also real life assistance. For example, if you have an issue with a contractor and you need legal support. So if you want to close this loop, and I mean, a digital tool is great, but it's just one side of the story. The other side of the story should be some kind of a personal assistance still. And that's also exactly where consumer organizations come in. And maybe a final, but this is a more broad consideration, also a bit inspired by what was said here. Affordability is really a key issue here. I mean, every year we run affordability barometer, so we measure actually the financial perception of households. We know that people, I mean, a lot of people are still struggling with cost of living, and you know, we have a new crisis coming in, and it's not even the low income or the vulnerable consumers, it's the big mass of consumers. Because even those who make it to the end of the month, so they can buy the food, they can have their kids at school, but there's little left to save. So that means that everything that comes on top, for example, renovating your home, is very difficult for the big mass of it. So we can make it easier with digital journeys, but as long as we do not address the affordability, it will remain about people.
And Adrian, we have also this question about scale. How do we move from individual digital tool to a market-wide transformation? I mean, do you think one-stop shops, they become the backbone of the renovation market, or we are still in a pilot stage?
So all straight at the easy questions. So just a few reflections on one stop. shops in general, because of course in the HORIS, we're talking about a digital one-stop shop, a platform you can go to on your own. There are also physical one-stop shops across the union. And in my own deliberations about this, the utility of one-stop shops, I have always felt, and very controversial in this audience, physical one-stop shops are more powerful, particularly if they're local and staffed by local people who understand the community. And we saw that with the physical one-stop shops in Open-Jella, in the Grenell Club, and in several other projects taking place in the last decade. However, reflecting on the HORIS work, there's a large place for a digital platform like this, because of what I said on camera during the coffee break. If you're sitting at home, idly wondering, well, maybe it might be nice to do after 15 years, the next stage of our renovation, your first reaction is to take your phone out and search. And wait, this is what's going to happen on phone. You're live in a one-stop shop in your country, and you're going to have local information or national information. So I think if it was replicated beyond the 3 pilot countries, yes, it's going to play a significant role. But maybe it's going to be just that introductory, getting the appetite going. Because it's one thing I have over many years been contemplating, is how do you increase the desire among homeowners to ask for renovation? Because I do not believe you can impose renovation. If we use too many economic terms, you can't create demand in this sector. You have to incite it. You have to make people want it. And maybe good digital platforms that then go beyond maybe the information part, but have testimonials and good stories, or are portals to the stories in the country, could be a nice adjunct to the digital one-stop shop search. Because in the sense, by one of the earlier panelists, one-stop shop success is built on trust. And we trust people, don't trust digital tools. So some marriage between digital platform and physical one-stop shops is going to be the market transformation moment, I think. But listening to what Thibault said, and maybe others in the room know better, he said only 80 one-stop shops, and I think he meant physical one-stop shops in 17 countries exist today. I made the calculation based on Article 18, is it? So you're supposed to have one-stop shop for every 80,000 people. That means we need 5,265 one-stop shops, and there are 80 today. So there's a long path to go to get to that transformation point. And maybe we've just begun to inch our way down that road without the political leadership and the tool and the conviction that this is a really powerful tool. We're not going to go very far. But could I make a comment on what Elsa said about financing? Because you're absolutely right. There is a high number of people in our society who are homeowners who do have no financial headroom. They're comfortably off. They're getting to the end of the month. They have a few €100 maybe. They're usually putting it aside for a rainy day or a holiday fund. But they're not thinking about renovation. It's scary. Well, we believe in the Renovation campaign that there's a tool for that called the EU Renovation Loan. And we are lobbying to have that included in the Invest EU under the new multi-annual financial framework. And such a loan would target precisely that segment, because it would be a zero interest or zero coupon loan that you don't have to pay back at the end of the term or when you sell the property. And it will be backed by a guarantee by EPBD. So there are tools that we're contemplating and promoting that are innovative, but we think could solve this problem. And then the one-stop shops point to these tools. The idea of our e-renovation loan is that it's available not through some complex financial arrangement, but around the corner in your local bank. Bank you go for a car loan. And this is what's needed in conjunction with good stop shop services to be transformable. But we're a long way away. That's
Yeah, well, I just want to say two things. One is, this is a learning process at different levels and designing funding schemes in running digital or physical one-stop shops. So what I would say is that we need to keep this stability of the learnings. And unfortunately, from past experiences or seeing past experiences, people come and say, okay, this didn't work for 6 months or whatever, so let's just delete it. That happens with funding, that happens with targeting consumers, that happens with the one-stop shops. And then another comment on the 80, the number of one-stop shops. So in Portugal, currently, we have 119 energy advice points. So physical. The challenge there is that having a physical place connected with a municipality or a civil parish or an energy agency doesn't mean people go there to get support. Again, that's a learning process. What the Directorate-General have done was to start the process because there is a mandate and then we need to put it out there. And then on stories for over a year, there was one person going to get help. And the point I would like to make here is that we cannot be only thinking of putting either a digital or a physical one-stop shop without the community engagement. So we have also run. Okay. I'm just reflecting on the thing because the point is that we need really to engage with the citizens on the ground to get not only the vulnerable consumers but the general public, because the general public needs also the support, not only the funding but the knowledge for renovation. So I think this is important because it's not only open something or put a platform out there. We need really to keep engaging with the community, not exactly to show the advantages of renovation. I think people understand they have a problem. I think they understand we need to address climate change and so on. That's the next step. So funding, clearly, affordability, and then exactly what to choose. We have been helping people that even say, I have 5,000 euros, but then I'm not sure if I'm going to heat pumps or if I'm going to insulation. Can you help me out to decide on the priority? So it's a different level. So there are multiple complexities. Most of you are aware, but it's interesting to think about them together and on a longer term perspective, not really on the short term solving a problem. I think we need stability. I think that's my word for today, stability of funding and of knowledge exchange.
And to complement, because you already answered, but how you see this link, because as a physical loss of jobs, the people are there and don't engage, people are not doing that. We have the experience, for example, for HORIS, we engage with a lot of jobs. The renovation is different, but in terms of engagement, how we see this link between physical and digital? This will be the right path?
Yes, I think it's the connection between both. So I've supported both, and I see that the digital platform can support the let's say the massive information load on as Adrian was mentioning. Like I might at home, I want to check what's out there. Maybe on our platform we have also this tool to check the cost or to check the impact on different indicators. So that's the start. And then I go to a place to get the specific support. Maybe then they can forward me back again to the platform saying, okay, but look at this funding and check the information. So I think from the ones I know, I think this complementarity between the physical clearly and the support, I would say the backbone general at the national level of a digital platform provides that knowledge that we need to do, especially because I would say most one-stop shops, but I don't know all, get also a lot of support on energy bills, like on suppliers. And this is something easy to do. Our digital platform doesn't do exactly that. We don't cover that. But that's understanding the needs of people also. And maybe first I need to change my supplier. I need to go for, I don't know, for 100% renewable energy supplier because it's cheaper or different opportunities of factories. So we don't do that. But you do that. But that's the point. So we need to understand also what's the needs of people and looking to what's, I don't know, one-stop shop in Croatia, one-stop shop in Ireland, maybe have a slightly different feature than the one in Portugal or Spain and Italy because of context, because of the alignment with funding. This is also super important because giving advice without strong funding, it's almost irrelevant because people need the funding. And also the opposite. If I have really a big funding, but there is no one to help me out to navigate either digital or physical, we have a problem. That's what we have been seeing for a long time.
And Dimitris, we see this gap between the implementation, strong policy, but then weak implementation, let's say. Don't you think this is the biggest gap between, when it comes for the digitalization innovation journey and the bottleneck?
Just this minor comment for what was said before. So about the digital versus physical, let's say, workshop. So, in my opinion, digital can only get you up to a point. If we think as one-stop shops, according to the definition that covers the full renovation project, including, the construction, everything. At some point you need to speak to someone. At some point, so no matter what, it can only get you up to a point. So it depends on how you want to build your one-stop shop. And then just to mention about, scaling up and what we said before about the 80 versus 5,000. Article 18 will make it happen. We scale things up. So it is for me very important for national authorities to build on what is, what has already been implemented by projects in other cities. So this learning curve, as Joa said, it's important to be, to also consider that we don't start from scratch. There's already, several, many universities upstairs. Then back to your question about the gap. If you ask me, there is still a gap, and the market is not very mature. We have EPCs out there, yes, but they need to be improved. Now we need to somehow harmonize the EPC system. Plus, we need to make people believe in EPCs again. Digital look, I think for me it's critical because at the end of the day, this is where everything tends to be somehow piled up. Renovation passports, it's only the very beginning. So again, there are some schemes here and there, but now with EPBD again, it will become a mandatory thing. So we need to somehow think about all these different tools and how we can integrate them together, how we can make them work. Interoperability, cybersecurity, GDPR, all things are, elements that needs to be considered together, not as isolated things. Otherwise, it's not going to work because we need all these tools for the same reason, for energy performance, for renovation. So yes, it's. Some member states are more advanced, I have to say, for some issues, some others don't. But I really believe that building on experiences that we already have from projects or from other member states, one way or another, and exactly because of this version of the EPBD, which makes it more technical, providing the guidance to build it, I believe that sooner or later we're gonna get there. We're gonna find a solution. And again, back to Joao, whatever we do, data should be like the backbone for everything. You do EPCs, you need to keep in mind that, okay, I need this type of data for the EPSO, for Article 22, for next 12 months. Whatever article you implement, data needs to be always, the back in your mind.
Really else, coming back to consumers, you already talked a bit about this, but we're talking about digital. But as we said, not everyone is tech, let's say, savvy. Who is being left behind in this digital transformation? Are we still underestimating the consumer behavior? We still really need this link, physical and digital.
Yeah, and indeed, I think, digital tools are amazing and we fully support, we embrace them. They can make less complex, more simple, but not if they're only designed for the tech stack. I mean, we know that some people still are not comfortable with that, and we know who we are. It's the elderly, it's low income, also with those with lower digital skills, but also rural areas, or, for example, tenants that do not, or you live in an apartment and you do not really have a decision power, but also people with generally lower trust in institutions and in markets. So, and if we don't take this into account when we are designing one-stop shops, if we don't design them in an exclusive way from the very beginning, or if we limit ourselves only to, you know, have a digital-only solution, then instead of, you know, stepping up, we might end up with increasing inequalities, or at least the support will not reach the people who can benefit the most of it. So that's why it's very important when we design one-stop shops, digital ones, to do it inclusive by design. So keep it simple, not many steps, clear language. It's not made easy for the vulnerable ones. It's also good for ourselves, all of us. Keep everything in one place. Just use it to connect the dots, make it really practical, and personalize the journey. I mean, the more it addresses the real needs, the easier for people to embrace it. That's one thing. And of course, again, one-stop shops, you have the digital element, but also the personal element. Knowing that at a certain moment, you will be able to speak to a human if you want to, might even make the step easier to go to also the digital option. So people who are very reluctant to trust the digital one might be more eager to do this, knowing that in case I have a problem, I can speak to a human.
We will have a lot of takeaways for our HORIS project in the next future, let's say. And Adrian, last question, and we need your help to think 2030. What do you think? Would the success actually look like? Not in policy. How do you think we could achieve in the field with these experience?
So 2030 is only 4 years away.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it seems too long.
For a person like me, that looks like a very short time, rather long time. So it's hard, in a sense, it's hard to look forward to that new date. But by that date, I think it would be wonderful if every homeowner has heard one of their trusted friends or family members say, I just renovated my home and it's fabulous. This is what I would hope that people would be hearing the good stories. And we, as the experts, let me meet your husband. But we among the expert community do need to hear the bad stories. So thanks to Adam for the bad story about the one visit in 1 year to a physical spot. It made me think about another key aspect that's not been mentioned. Success in our realm depends on what's now called always-on communications. Because we've had such a strong tendency in governments, in projects, in programs, to have a big fanfare when it's announced, when it starts, and a big fanfare at the end, which is sometimes postponed because it wasn't so successful. And we don't have a continuous communication right throughout the life of a scheme or project. So always on communications is crucially important for success. So by 2030, I hope such initiatives and one-stop shops would have found a way to have always on, not too intrusive communications. So people are constantly being reminded, oh yeah, that does exist. Opportunities here. Oh yes, there's a new fund. Oh yeah, there's a new loan bother I could go for. And they're hearing it, nice background noise that reminds them, because then they might take the step and say, yeah, I want this too. And that's actually what I would like for 2030, is that everyone is saying, I want this too. Where do I go to get a renovation?
We have a lot of work in renovation. We are almost running out of time, and I think we have time for 2 questions.
Yes, we have one. What provisions have you made for the continuity and legacy of the HORIS project, and at the digital infrastructure you have built and the experience and gained, and after especially.
The future, the future of the project.
Yes.
That's the next part.
It's a very good question. Also for us, of course, as all the projects, if you start now, so in the beginning, we made it a lot of things differently. As in the renovation houses, when you finalize, you should do it in a different way. Now, of course, we need to go further. We understand from surveys that we made to professionals and to consumers that we want this bridge, but this bridge is not so well done. And one of the lessons learned, and we already talked about this, is we don't have this personal advice. This probably the link with physical one-stop shops could be the right way. Because we've engaged a lot of people, so we could help bringing people, but we also need this step because, as I was saying, you need to listen a lot of things. For example, I can think, okay, I'll start with this rehabilitation, but not now. There is a gap when we want and we really go for it, not because of finance or because whatever. So we need time. And for the project, there's this problem. Platform is running less than a year. So to build, let's say, the works, it takes a lot of time for people to decide and to go and to really move, and without funding.
I think that just want to help you out there. Also, the funding part is important because, like in Portugal, as an example, there was no funding available the last year. Like, was for vulnerable consumers on a different perspective, more on stoves, the gas stoves.
Because we started the project and funding.
Exactly. So that's the thing I was mentioning before. This alignment and stability between funding and support is top priority for any one-stop shop and any future any project itself on this. It's stability. And the challenge there, I would say also, is because when we're looking ahead to the Social Climate Fund, I think it's the massive money coming now, is really targeted to vulnerable consumers. And connected with what El was mentioning, we need renovation for almost all of us. So it's of course important to target the most vulnerable, but we have a massive problem, a broader problem. So this could be a challenge on this connection also with the broader community, because I'm seeing that my neighbor low income is getting support, and because I heard, I don't know, 100 euros more, I cannot get any support. So, and that I also need to renovate my house, I'm maybe living in the same building. So there are challenges between also the upcoming funding, the upcoming supports, and the targeting itself. So we will pursue for sure this on a digital platform, connecting the follow-up of HORIS will be for sure connected with that.
Okay, so we have time for one more question. I want to make it short, please. I think two, but make it short.
Short, this is responding to both the situation in 4 years and actually a week. Stakeholders like us not always include. In 4 years, we have inversion of 2 pages. So our main problem of European Union, and most countries of the European Union, have big group, rising group of old people that are getting retired, and to have a youth and message of no future. So actually the problem of saying, how can I get to access to a home? How can I get to access to a job? How can I get access to a job where I find it my future? This is the main question. And let's say if we return to the thing, but we have relations between the generations in the communities. And there is a question of transmission. And when you are hesitating to renovate your home, actually you are taking care about how to transmit. In Switzerland, on some regions of Austria, they think about 2 or 3 generations transmission of building. So then you can, why are the buildings so good in Switzerland? Because you can always spend money in improving the quality. There is no problem with banks. There is long-term reflection progress. So if we consider this as an opportunity for Europe, we have possibly what is the place of Europe and how we can get actually this one-stop shops mobile to communities. We can get it directly in connection to communities.
Yeah, we have one. We have one. In fact, we have two. We have two mobile shipping containers that we use as one-stop shops. So, and there are challenges there. Not all, everything is perfect. There are challenges also there, but community engagement before entering the place, the mobile one-stop shop is key. And then what we are delivering as well. So beyond the information layer. I think this is again, a learning process from multiple one-stop shop and advice points to the next step beyond energy suppliers, bills, and the information on where to steer maybe a typology of investment or renovation on your house to really technical support. And that maybe costs more and the business models are kind of different. So yeah, mobile one-stop shops connected to digital platforms. I think that's the way to go.
We have 1 minute because we have another panel.
Yes, Evan Letchlik from the TU Delft. Coming back to the metaphor of the wedding planner, I've just looked up digital wedding planner, and I only find tools that are for the wedding planner. On budgeting, on keeping your vendors organized, on choosing your color scheme, all the practical things you need for your renovation. So my question is, probably we need a person, and in Belgium, for example, the architect is a protected profession that's always involved as a coordinator of a renovation process. So why are we putting so much effort in the one-stop shop, organizing a digital one-stop shop, while the architects may be needing other types of tools to convince the client? Maybe you have a view on how to integrate these architects.
I'm an architect. So, I practiced 17 years before I moved into policy work. And I think one of the difficulties is indeed under the Belgian law, architects have a particular responsibility that actually is, I think, ill-placed now in the modern world with the law protected now. And it's not common across Europe to have a similar profile for the architect. So the architect is not required to be involved in every project. You don't need it. But the peculiarity of Belgium. Just coming to the architect as a profession, actually a bit self-critical. We are educated to believe we are the brains of every project. We are. And actually, in reality, we're not. And it's very hard for an architect to make that realization. So architects don't want to be asked to be the advisor for what they see as technical issues around energy performance or engineering stuff. They want to be asked about design and about creative aspects and about improving quality and so on. Absolutely necessary, don't get me wrong. And that's why we require these new professions, these new advisors who can bridge across all the professions, who knows where and when to bring an architect into a project. So having faith in one route or one profession is a false start for me. We had Renovation Europe Day last year in Copenhagen, and for me, the takeaway statement was from the CEO of Benelux. He said, partnership is the new leadership.
Yes, I was wondering the same.
So having that in mind, that's, I think, the way through the complexity of the world we live in. It's partnerships.
Thank you all. I think there's a lot of takeaways from today. The challenge is not only about knowing what to do, is really make it happen. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We're already to the end of the panel. I mean, I'm really excited about this panel because it's a kind of exploration like what is there. I mean, the HORIS was written
4 years ago. And in these 4 years, many things has happened. I mean, all these AI tools, data platform, smart cities are more like in our daily life. Of course, they're still not there, but they are in the ambient. So we have now 4 panelists. 2 of them are part of the project. And that is Luisa, that already we know of her. She's
with another hand here.
Another head, yeah. She has been like the coordinator with Elsa of the HORIS platform. And she's the coordinator. She's from Euroconsumer. She has a lot of experience working in the Euroconsumers, and she's now bringing the experience of all this journey, because he has been the head, the division, connecting all the pieces and understanding all how to build this HORIS platform. We also have Suze is also from the project. She's from the Groner. She's the founder of this AGO, I think it is, the Groner. And she's here because she has worked with the platform. I mean, she was the one with the all IT members developing the platform and translating the green menu to the Italy, Portugal, and Spain. And that was a really hard work. So she had a lot of passion to understand also the each of the consumer organization needs. So she knows very well what it means to translate all this background data to another country and to fulfill all the expectations that we were having. So we will also talk about this. And we have two speakers that are outside from the project. We have Patrick. He's working with one project that I think it's outside. This is a Sun for You project, and it's also a digital one-stop shop that is trying to connect public authorities with companies, with energy communities, and build a market, a digital market. So he also will bring this and this knowledge, because they are now, I would say that they are some steps ahead than HORIS. So he will bring us their experience and also the vision for where HORIS can go. And I'm really excited. We have also Heidi. She's an expert of smart city and digital twins, and their focus is on governance and use the data for making a trust ecosystem. So she's going to bring us this idea, like what is there about when we think in digital twins, in this data gathering, what can we achieve with all this thinking in scaling, and if it is possible to connect the one-stop shops that are more neighborhood focused or even dwelling focused, if it makes sense to be connected in a broader sense and in a digital way. I mean, we are here exploring, because we have talked also about this digitalization versus human support. So he will be also exploring this path, but like what we can expect from digitalization and be realistic. I was talking with Patrick, they are also like thinking of this and where we should like really connect these two worlds. So I'm going to start with Lisa, and I will ask you, Lisa, as a project coordinator, could you briefly share the original vision that we have behind HORIS and how you see it could evolve in the future, especially thinking of these new tools that have evolved in these 4 years when we were building HORIS, the AI or a broader city perspective, and also what we were saying now, like this community engagement.
Yes, thank you, Paola. Actually, we already had said as Alpro consumers that I'm a part of the network of Euroconsumer here. Probably I would have start with the fact that I wanted to be an architect when I was young, and probably an engineer, really creating connections with the partners as enabling factors to support the consumer to make it happen. So to really satisfy the need of a more sustainable home and really get the service done by trusted and trustworthy partners, having good contracts in place, so engaging in something that could be reliable, not just for, the ambition was not just to provide information, because there was plenty of information on the website, online, that people could really catch. But we wanted to really, the ambition was to deliver a service at the end of the day. And as someone mentioned at the very beginning, we really did, especially in this sector, as I've been managing grants opportunity in the last 10 years for your consumer partners and managing kind of, roughly speaking, 40 projects in grants. Well, the sadness is that when you finish the project usually ends. And the ambition is, and the service, and let's say, the outcome is not necessarily exploitable or repeatable. And the ambition here, especially in this sector, with the goal of 2030 ahead of us, was okay, how can we really bridge this gap? How can we really survive to the project ends despite the limited resources? Well, we need to inject this at the beginning by design, by default, a good infrastructure, not just the technological infrastructure, but the partnership infrastructure to really collaborate afterwards. But of course, this must also be sustainable. And of course, we generated, as I mentioned previously, interesting numbers in terms of attracting people. But then when we went to assess the right match between professionals and, let's say, consumers' demands, there was a kind of mismatch, okay? And we did it kind of recently, kind of 2 months ago, and basically not that, just kind of couple 6 contracts signed in Spain, and that's all. So 1,000 visits, 7,000 in Italy, 10,000 people who sign in the platform and ask many others for quotation, but no real engagement. Probably not just for the design that we made, the journey, but for other reasons. As mentioned previously, well, I will talk with my husband. People need time, so there's a need, reflection, decision-making process, roughly speaking, at least 6 months to maybe start a renovation intervention, to change your windows, take the decision to invest in heat pumps is quite okay. You're not a walk in the woods. So you need to allocate money. And of course, there is also the issue of this third environment, which is the lack of subsidies that could really trigger your action. So if, of course, this lasts for just a while, in 1 year, it's difficult to decide. And probably you don't even have the availability of the profession to support you because they are busy rushing to get the funds. So a lot of factors, but the real initial ambition was to really be supportive with consumer and also shape the market and the project itself to make it survive to the project.
I also think that if I can add.
Yeah, you can add
that in about 1 year, it's not like you're gonna buy an iPhone or a small product. It's a big step renovating. It's also not an A to Z journey that you're posting in 6 months. There are so many different profiles of people that we somehow have to address with the platform. And then we also, there's been done a lot of work also on all these different types of customer journeys. It all starts with being informed and getting inspired. And I think you say we got some fair numbers. Well, I think that's too marginalizing. And almost 500,000 visitors platform in the first year. That's on the first step of the whole journey. That's a lot. That's much more than we achieved in the Netherlands so far. Though the funny thing is, because we founded the first version of the platform 14 years ago, and it's basically, I didn't know the word, but the Groene Grachten was basically a offline one-stop shop, you could say, because we were starting our company with the idea we're going to help people renovate their historic buildings, because if it can be done here, it can be done here. So we just started. We have engineers, we have a lot of architects in our team. So we are helping people coming up with the good plans that fits their financial possibilities, the legislation, all the things, all the factors that are now on the platform. The other thing, we were a non-profit the first 4 years. We're now a company.
Okay.
So when you're a non-profit, it's like the consumer organization. Your phone rings all the time with people who start looking for information. I think you are the right person to tell me if my heat pump will make a noise, if I can get a subsidy for this or that. Well, you heard our bright minds in this project have been working on over 150 different measures in different countries with different geographical and climate conditions. There's so much information and it changes rapidly. So you cannot keep up as a company or organization, or especially a non-profit or a municipality, to be able to provide all that information all at once, all the time, and be completely accurate. So we started building the first platform with the idea like, so please people, if you're looking for information for inspiration on other projects that might help you because you've seen it works in this house and I have a similar house, then you can replicate it. And we put all these data in. So we started just by having so many customer journeys, people centrally located, building the first version platform. Not knowing that we have an online and an online sort of combination. It just evolved from the need of the people, basically. In the Netherlands, we chose a slightly different route because we have, in all the different municipalities in the Netherlands, we have different legislation. So that's really annoying. So we invited all the municipalities to come up with all their legislation. So whenever you're in Maastricht or in Amsterdam or in Groningen, you get different information. We've been working a lot on all these differences also in the regions in the different countries now. But the infrastructure was there, but it's a Dutch infrastructure. And it was an amazing opportunity to be able to work with all these partners with so much knowledge, with so much accessibility to consumers, people who are already feel that they have an organization they can trust to deliver the information. But the information in the Netherlands was not applicable to Portugal or Spain or Italy. So I think we can all be very proud of what we achieved so far, because in 3 years' time, we managed to completely analyze and get the right perspective on how it can be done. All these different measures. We know also all the different levers and what works and what doesn't. We have collected hundreds of good projects that can inspire other people. We've learned a lot of things on all these different contexts. And we've managed to make it a viable product that works and that already attracts so many people. Then after the inspiration phase comes the activation phase. And we know now in Holland, 14 years ago, it took us 3-4 years for somebody to start from the idea to start, and sometimes even 6 years. Now it's been changing because we've run our organization 14 years. Now it's like people, they want to go ahead and act quickly, but that's been changing over the years. So I think we are also talking about different countries who are in different phases of readiness, the people, the market, of the professionals. I mean, the panel, the first panel where we just showed tremendous work that's been done on how to train professionals. Only the deliverable of training professionals would be an amazing result of one project. But we did that as one of the many things that we achieved. So I think I just wanted to say that we can all be also very proud of what's happened so far. Sorry for the long there's a lot to learn and we're not ready at all. But after 14 years in the Netherlands, we also feel like we're just getting started. At the same time, we've done thousands of projects, so we know and we can put it back into the tooling. And that's what's going to happen. We need an ecosystem in all the countries. We have amazing partners, but it's just a start. Okay. And it's obviously online, offline. We need the people, but also all these questions that will come towards us, we need a digital place to store at least the information that we can share, and that enables people. And then for us, it's about all these connections, maybe. So I thought the last remark of the partnership thing, that's spot on.
Okay, no, thank you very much. I think it's really important to understand where it comes from and all the work that has been done in 3 years, 2 years, but also the previous path that you have been done. And I would connect it now for users with the AI. I mean,
Yes.
like you have been working with this and you have been developing all this knowledge about platform, about data, about how to combine it. And I would like to ask that if you are like thinking, I mean, the AI, it's a game changer on this kind of platform, or you see it just like a kind of layer, or you don't see it that it's ready enough to implement it or improve it in the green menu or in the different platforms that you are now working?
Well, how do you feel about AI? It's completely overwhelming, right? I think all the opportunities, all the ways we work now compared to 1 year ago or 2 years ago, it's like, for me, it's completely different. The leverage and the how we can analyze and like help you like structure information, and what we've been doing in the platform is in a way structuring information. So I already see if we want to update, for instance, all the information, it's set in the first panel. That's going to be a challenge, but AI can help us analyzing and much quicker, maybe real time, update the information. It's one thing I see. I think if you would want to connect new countries, I think we've been working like a lot of work has been put, even like we had a structure that was for the Netherlands, but also for the privacy and the scalability of the platform. We had to come up with a new infrastructure that would make like a new country basically as a sole new backbone for a new country to join the platform. We built the whole structure, but a new country to edit, it might be like so much less work than we did for the first 3 countries that we now. So I think the way to scale or to update or to add new features, I think that's going to be incredible. We use it now a lot in the phase right after. So when like the platforms are more for inspiration and feeling and getting like, we always believe like if you are able to make your first advice yourself, that's the best way, because then you feel like you're in charge and you've already somehow pre-selected some ideas and the cells can give you some direction. Afterwards, often it's complex and you need somebody to talk to and to like calculate or find the right professional. I think in that whole area, we use AI tremendously. So I think our offline journey will benefit also a lot by AI type tools. I think we would have to offer a new project, maybe somehow to like really scale and integrate AI in the whole system. I think there's so much we could do. I think we're just
so there are paths that you see that it can revert the platform that you already have, like AI or some tools maybe for updating it or more like or more background, maybe that was all.
Yes, if I may, last the time of speakers, but just to share if you want me now or later, but as we are talking about AI, as consumer organization, we have been already implementing AI agent on our platform front end to basically provide simple answer to also legal questions. So the complaint, if you want question that people have, as you said before, coming to our platform to try to know how, whether they have rights or not in relation to several consumer rights, so from travel perspective to warranty or similar. I can imagine that we can implement a front-end agent to do the work that nowadays, for example, ask people to fulfill the self-scan to do. So basically it can be kind of, request an integration or really way to speed up the process that according to the answer to the question that we just did, the survey that we launched, to some extent people felt annoying to answer just basic 5 questions on their home, but they felt like, okay, it's just too bothersome. I just want the answer immediately. How much will it cost me to install an e-forms? And you say, okay, and the AI agent will just start answering. Well, we've been implementing this for legal question in kind of replacing the lawyers. I think we could do similarly something related to home renovation, basic question. And then, of course, when question becomes more complex, you can rely and go back to let's talk with Mr. Hind, to Mr. Frederick, etc., and really go deeper to have specific answer to your specific case. But it's a kind of intermediary role that can really pull the people and really at least assess the first stage of, answer the first stage of questions, do a little bit of debunking and help people to go through, because that we put it on our website or not, maybe people do not realize that they are using AI, but they are already using it.
Yes, I think this gives us the point, perfect point to Patrick, because Patrick has been working with this project, some for you. And maybe you can explain it a bit, but it's like a one-stop shop that they are supercharging with some kind of AI. So maybe you can explain it a bit, the project, and then answering us what is this kind of supercharging, and also your experience where you are now, because you're not finishing, you are working on it, so you are facing many problems, many questions that can enrich and help us to see these expectations that we are having, if are going in a good direction or not, and share us your experience with this.
Thank you. I have some slides, actually, yeah.
You want it?
Yeah, maybe one, just to show. It's with the eClay. It's the founder of this project is actually, it's not directly a European project. It's funded, it's Direction Fund 2 for cities. So here the differences is more the fact that we are focusing on energy communities. So okay, the energy part, the relevant part of the deep renovation, but in this case it's based more on the sharing of energy among buildings at local level in proximity. One point of difference is that it's not a single user in a family, it's a group that can try to create an association, a community. So the social aspect of the digital use of the digital platform is quite different. We managed to offer this platform. Here are some keywords. It's already online on mobile and without the AI. In the sense that the AI now is only implemented in the calculation of the potential energy of each roof. So it's in the server side. So the user doesn't know it's based on AI, but the calculation are made in this way. And it is actually a choice that we decisions of our team about this. But then the AI is actually a whole project, the elephant in the room. We are quite, let's say, forced to think about it. A lot of requests, top down, asking for introduce, please. I do. But then the question is, in which way it is, of course, AI is powerful, but it's also a bit scaring because in some way the quality of the answer needs to be verified each time. So it's not something very transparent, let's say, in many cases. So where in this process of this case, the building of a community, sharing energy, but it's not so different if you're thinking of a deep renovation. It can be actually really useful. Luisa was saying accelerating the process, okay, but attention with verification, always check that the work that is behind on the server. Regarding the answers, I mean the quality of the answers. Then let's say the chat of the AI assistant. The AI assistant is something that is, of course, also scary because it's replacing jobs, basically.
for example, legal assistance. That's very it's quite critical point because we notice that it's not so reliable. Let's say in some case the answers need really to be verified, and there are critical answers. They are not just a no and advice. No, let's say you cannot do. These are the requirements. These are not the requirements, but it can be trained, of course, so it can be improved. So this kind of assistance is on laws, on deadlines, or incentives, on let's say making using a conversational AI can be a very useful tool to the user can even listen if he or she doesn't like to read pages and pages. It's useful to summarize. One kind of assistant mainly on, I would like to say, not on the technical aspect, more on the legal and laws, regulation frameworks that are always changing. That can be really on in value. Then there is a second kind of use that in the marketplace we notice, of course, one of services service that are more requested is fundings of funding platform, banks, donors, equity fund. In our case, a lot of edge to this model that can do the investment or support the investments. Well, in this process, at the beginning, it's a digital, let's say, first contact, then it's an offline negotiation. Of course, this kind of negotiation cannot be done inside just the platform. It need to be really either physical or by voice, in any case, person to person or group to group. Then in this relation, any funder will ask a business plan. It's not easy to create a business plan. In the case of HORIS, imagine the family was not provided, but if there's plan to the bank so easily, there is a short, slow process. It's a funding opportunity, evaluate the feasibility of the funding. In this case, the AI can be accelerated. Because if you have a good checkup, a good analysis on the intervention, deep renovation, especially with the incentives, the digitalisation, any kind of factors, and AI can create a good, interesting business planning in a few minutes. And of course, also in this case, you need training. So to be there. Then these are just two points that we are focusing on. This, let's say, some for you 2.0, that is the new version. And maybe a third one is that there are a lot of complex, very complex topics emerging. In our case, in the case of energy, the most trendy, let's say, complex is the flexibility. So the demand response scheme. So we probably not among us know what it is, but people doesn't know nothing. And it's also very not only complex but very impactful. So someone is asking, okay, the DSO want to control your washing machine, turning on and off your devices in the house automatically. That's the scary AI. What's happening in my house? You signed the demand response scheme attached to your energy supply contract. That's the near future.
Yeah.
But that's something that needs to be explained, simplified, summarized, tested.
No. That's it. If I may follow two things. Well, on that second part, we also have, as you assume, other projects ongoing on a product base, on smart metering, on how to play again, kind of trusty role to really make it happen and actually deliver value to the end consumer. Because, as said in the previous panel, data-driven mindset helps ensure the governance, but also its value for the companies, but should also mean something to the consumer at the end of the day. So, and this is not necessarily what's happening now. So it's not just an issue related to compliance to GDPR. It's really a strategic value for the data that I share that it means something to, all the supplier to create a more efficient market. And in relation to the AI experience that we've been doing, indeed, it's not just delivering the tool that the job is done. You need, first of all, to train it properly up front with the right inputs. Otherwise, we deliver wrong answer. Of course, you need to limit a little bit the scope, not to be, to go in one direction. If you decide, we train in the case of what we need, for example, in Italy, and we've been doing also in other customer countries, train it on consumer code, the experience that we've been having now. And of course, validation and monitoring the answering accuracy is part of the ongoing job of consumer organization and of course of all of us. And third layer, of course, you need not only to assess the results, but also again to be able to do the coordination. So use the AI to gain time, be smart, and probably connect the dots and really connect to the right partners. Okay, so imagining the knowledge that we build in HORIS, but not only database, etc. If the AI can connect the dots, now we have kind of remember whether we have 150 professional lot in the platforms in the several countries, but tomorrow then this number to grow. Okay, where is the best professional? Paola living in Barcelona for doing that job, AI will be this immediately, okay? Or, kind of process or shortcut that really can make the process smarter and simpler for consumers. So of course, it's a tool. We should not per se to see it as a solution, and the complex cases will require anyhow the human and the professional to enter, but in the phase that is really relevant, not maybe the first stage question that make the people and professional annoyed because there are basic questions. So what we want to really solve is kind of frustration, some professional answering also for a question or survey, saying, okay, not even did the quotation because this question was not relevant to our, renovation builder. We are not small, artisan. So that kind of question can be solved immediately. And rather a complex issue should be treated properly by the.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you very much for sharing this platform and the one-stop shop that you are building. Also to see that also digitalization, it was for communities that we were also talking about this. And I would like to jump to Heide. She is a founder of Agante, and she's coming from the Erasmus University of Rotterdam, and she has a lot of 20 years, I think, experience with digital twins and urban data platform. So she's a kind of, she's coming from this more city vision. And we asked her, like, how she sees this connection with the more one-stop shop that it's related to the building and the houses and the family, how is it connected to a broader vision? Also with this aim, with the aim to not be isolated on one house, one family, to start to understand that the renovation should happen in all the city. So how do you see all these urban data platform, digital twins can help?
Thank you, Paula. Also, thank you, everybody, for the invitation. I liked it when you said she's coming from, this is correct. If I look at the knowledge of the people in the room, really, I know nothing about renovation. I haven't even renovated my own house. So really, it's a very high level perspective, but hopefully, I think, that I can add something to the discussion, especially listening to the panel before us and the panel this morning. So allow me to step back for a second. I had to prepare. I had never heard of HORIS, so I had to read up, and I understood. Okay, we have this directive. People need to renovate their home if we want to get the objective. This is yet another thing that we're asking of people to do. And especially if you look at it, that especially people that have troubles with energy poverty, those who would like to renovate their home first. So I think Adrian was right when he said, if you don't get this right, it's also going to be a political problem because of the affordability issue that we have in most of our society. So I was pondering this and then I said, okay, what can I add to this discussion? And so I want to hear 2 points of view. And then I briefly translated to the HORIS example. So my point of view, when I think of digitalization and society, I have 2 perspectives. The first one is that the world is changing so fast. The world is becoming very complex. The magnitude of change is very big. Also because of digitalization, globalization, and climate change, many people are disengaged. So what should we be doing to get the people back? How can we engage people and don't lose them, and don't also politically lose them, as we're seeing across Europe, that we're losing people? So that's the first point, first thing that I worry about and stay awake at night. This is one point. And the other point that's very interesting, listen to the previous panel. I think my vision, my idea is that we should stop thinking offline, online, digital, physical. It's a one world. Nobody wakes up and gonna say, no, today I'm gonna go through, stay in the physical world all day, or gonna spend all my time online. So I call it the one world paradigm. Physical, virtual, it's all intertwined, it's all connected. We have all the sensors in buildings, we have yourself, you're becoming a sensor on social media. So all the data is physical, virtual, it's all connected. So if we keep that in mind, we can solve lots of the discussion of should the one-stop shop be physical or virtual. Should be both, basically. So that's a little bit of theory and perspective. So people are disengaging, and at the same time, they're refusing physical and virtual. Okay, and then now, how does that translate back into your question and all that? The HORIS project. I think just like you say you have one world, you should also be thinking about one life. So we're talking about the renovation journey, starting at a particular point with HORIS. But the implication of one life would be, could we connect, and digital helps with that, connect other journeys. So if I am doing my financial planning, and that's a journey that I have to go through, if I could put it in that journey, a path that sets you on the route of renovation journey, that would be great. So how can we interconnect journeys? And urban data platforms are especially well suited to do those things. It's about interconnectivity, interoperability. I think Dimitri's mentioned that all the systems need to be connected. All the different tools that are within those different journeys can be connected through platforms. So HORIS would be one of them. Financial planning would be another. Health planning, if your house is with mold, could be another one. If you're sick and you have mold, so we should be thinking of interconnecting different journeys. And the second point I would like to make is that trust was mentioned. For me, governance is key to get these systems adopted. So governance drives from me trust drives adoption. So if we have in this ecosystem trust party and consumer organization, that helps a lot. So what's the power that we give to that party? What's the purpose of the platform? Can we explain all these things good? So governance essential in how you road ahead for HORIS, I would say. And finally, when I started thinking about journeys, I was very interested that you could use a journey, people online. I could use nudging and data that they have on them to personalize the interventions I did for them. That's nudging. What I see HORIS doing is going one step further and empowering people, giving them the tools to understand and to come up with a quick advice on how to renovate their home. And I think with AI, we can go even one step further from nudging to empowerment to giving people agency. Remember, I started with a stressed person, people disengaging, world becoming too complex. We can use agentic AI really to help people, give them a personal assistant that knows their background, knows their financial situation, knows basically everything about them. So this is the scary part. I know.
But
So
you won't share everything.
no. So this is where I see a big opportunity for agentic AI to give people more agency so that they are more in control of their life. But of course, how do we get there? I think there's for academia, but also for practitioners, two things that we need to do. We really need to understand how agentic AI can be used reliably, trustworthy. And at the same time, second question would be, how do we ensure individual sovereignty? We talk a lot about digital sovereignty and European sovereignty, but also how do we ensure that people don't become manipulated by systems or the ecosystem? So these are two things that I think that we need to keep in mind. So this is really reflecting on many of the topics that I've heard.
Can I add something? But this agentic AI role, it's very, very interesting, not for academia research, but also in concrete use. One aspect, for example, about the tool that we offer to the number 1,000 users on more than 120 groups of discussion with a forum approach in the platform for you. So, the forum is you select the topic. In this case, you select also the area, geographic, it's a community. Okay, let's create a community. Let's start. Beginning, there is always an animator, 2 animators, other, let's say, follower, but there is a really democratic discussion in the forum, basically. Then there is the request of an expert from the marketplace, for example, a company, professional, to participate to this discussion. The group accepts in the forum. Okay, human. It can be also the participation of an agentic AI in the forum. That's a bit strange because it's not some let's say tool that is recording.
It's also a painting like that.
It's participating. I use the it because it's a it.
He or she. As long as it's clear that
agentic, and the reaction is to analyze. It's not. We didn't implement this kind of tool, let's say, but it's on the table. It's on the discussion, and it's something, in my opinion, very interesting because it's. I'm quite sure it's better than the relation one-to-one with an AI, because in the relation the person with an AI, I think the person is weak. It's the weak one, and it must be. It's always the weak one because on the other side you have knowledge, 1 million of pages of documentation. I'm little bit. And that's not the good approach. In the participation forum, it's very. You have also a human expert that can comment what this agentic AI is writing.
Is it clear that it's an agent?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it must be. No.
Social media, it's not.
I know. That's another critical aspect. We must be sure that it's clear and transparent. And also, and that's another problem, that this agentic AI will not intervene too often. Because the agentic AI, all the AI is based on performance, strong performance. It must answer, it must say, okay. Often it must say, you're reason, you're very intelligent. That's the basic approach of the AI. In a group discussion, this is maybe not working.
You implement it already? Or
no, not yet, but we are discussing about doing. We have also a partner from Sokol that is already tested on other topics, let's say. And I think it would be very interesting also the introduction in forums in HORIS be a good maybe really different thought.
And have you discussed using the agentic AI on the side of the person that wants to engage in the energy or the energy community? So not as a participant, but as my agent that helps me to decide. But
That's another interesting approach. No, the was can be quite innovative approach actually. You mean a personal assistant?
Yeah. To help me.
I know that someone is already doing it, but it's not saying.
It's already done. I know when I took over the whole laptop and finished all the emails.
Is posting the answer that comes from the AI answers.
It's interesting that you need some sort of critical mass of human connection in relation to the AI on the other side. I think my husband and I do it somehow informally. Because then he says, "Oh, yeah, it's responsible." And then he says, "Dominic says, well, yeah, you can say that, but did you also ask?" He said, "Oh, yeah, good. I'll ask the question." And then there's another response. So you sort of, when there's more human activity involved, I think it's very interesting.
Basically, the relation many to many is really more rich than a relation one-to-one. And you can, in some way, use, I think, better the knowledge coming from the AI in this way, because you will always have, also the need of a moderator in the group is important, but the group and the more experts persons in the group can comment and even, let's say, orient the answers of the ideas coming from the agentic AI.
Yeah, but it's true that it's really important that we know that it is an AI, and also really important what you say, like not talk really often. So we managed to see like the AI before with tools that it can help like in the backyard, like how to organize and improve. Now we are seeing how the AI is moving more to the first line, and where are the lines? Because we need to know that it is an AI. We need also to become as a trust, like if stand for you are putting this, people trust it because you are putting this AI. It's not the same what you were saying like in the social media, when an AI is putting there and making noise. So we are really in a complex world now, because these AI are really big subjects that are there. So we really need to go ahead to go forward, and I understand that the people is putting or being on the fence. So that's why also the discussion, like how are we the decisions that we are taking, how are we going to build the relation of these kind of virtual subjects that some of them are already there, we don't know that they are AI, and for put it in the way that they can help us achieve our goals. I mean, because we're talking about renovation, about going ahead with the delivery, the service, and connecting more with the city. So it is all like really, I mean, it's a really engaging discussion, because also someone mentioned like AI, when we think about all this, it's something like accelerating, seems like accelerate, and sometimes we need to accelerate to really think
evaluate
where we should put it and how we should put it. Yeah, I don't know. I think you wanted to mention something before, so.
Yeah, but just connecting what you are just saying, just to again strengthen the point that to do the work that we've done together with the partners of HORIS to develop the self-assessment tool to deliver an answer, kind of digital product, digital passport, or a building implementation of the Article 18. It took us, roughly speaking, during the project life to 1 year. I mean, it requires investment. And nowadays, the risk is at stake with injection of artificial intelligence we've been investing manpower, hours of development to adjust and to customize these things. That also requires input from consumers, but then this investment needs to be jeopardized by AI solution, because people can immediately look for that answer, in 30 seconds, and we get obtain other kind of. So, and the point is, what is the difference? People not necessarily even for consumer organization investing 50 years of experience and knowledge in trusted, tested of products and devices. It is a challenge nowadays to prove the relevance the relevance. And the relevance stays again with the ecosystem of AI agent, but also partners behind every and each platform, because I do very much appreciate your comments, Heidi, related to the one life only. So it's not, we need to stop thinking digital and physical. It's true. It's just probably see generation. It's just one life and stop. And second, the fact that there are moments of, we call it internally, the moment of life.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you have different journey depending on the moment of life you are living in. And we are trying as a consumer organization to support people during this moment of life, in selecting their loans, like they have to look for a house, in selecting energy providers. So my dream would be for the future to have this kind of information and support at hand, maybe on the phone in one app only, powered by the consumer organizations.
Yeah, I wanted to say the same thing, that indeed it would be nice if we could have this integrated approach. And you could start already with HORIS by extending the journey from also closing the bills to the finance, having a community, make turning the shop into a platform. So, but I share your idea of the thing that's been nice.
Yeah, I was thinking also, like you said, this AI in the community, we had like in the HORIS, the platform also a community, but was not really working because there were not really enough engagement. Maybe at that moment we didn't think that we didn't have the skills or the money also to invest in it, but it would be good to have like, maybe this AI can also help to.
But to, as you said, to do connections again, because of course we try to attract on the consumer organization website communities related to energy, also people to chat as a forum. But there was low engagement, so we said, okay, this is probably they don't want to share, or they are not investing, so they are not ready to share anything or to comment properly. So
we were discussing before.
Yeah.
But my opinion is that also in this world of forums, there is a reality market. There are, for example, also in the domain of renovation, in the domain of energy. I mean, I know Italian forums. There are forums with 50,000 people talking. So you need to relate, to have a relation with these realities, with these forums. People are already trusting that channel. It's not, my opinion, the case to say, okay, tomorrow I will launch my own forum and let's see how it goes. Well, people, there's one reality, also one life, one reality.
But no, but and then
the domain of people.
But the disengagement aspect she was mentioning, because we experienced this, having kind of fans or friends, for example, I'm referring to Italy now, about we got kind of 38 million visits on the website, so quite a huge community as aggregator, not only of members of people. We probably overestimate the possibility to engage people in the community discussion. But this momentum is not exactly what it was kind of 4 years ago, 5 years ago, because people are overwhelmed, probably even, I don't know whether fed up or scared, but they just use, it's just like, you know, they abuse, we all abuse probably of internet or online, and we are now trying to disconnect and have maybe even a healthier approach with the tool in some cases not. So we use it when needed, but we are not really like it was 5 years ago to share whatever or to engage, you know, like as it used to be. So this is this engagement aspect.
One thing that also changed is that now it's more mature. This when concerning discussing and communicating about this technical energy renovation and energy transition aspects. I mean that I'm not. It's not like a social that I can decide to change platform, posting a picture year for year for year. Something that a certain time, you trust this channel, you stay and you keep, you remain in this channel. So a new project like our project or also HORIS should try to connect with this platform that are really
create panels that are
exactly, and then exchange data, create, for example, some vertical topics related to the project inside those platforms. The same is happening for the aggregation of demand. For example, you were saying it's difficult to have online negotiation and offers coming from professionals in the digital platform. That's quite, I think, normal. It's the same also for some for you. The negotiation is offline and the offers are offline. What we are asking is that maybe the comments about this negotiation come to the platform, and also so a sort of reputation, right? The reputation of the different companies should be more transparent in this way. But then we, of course, know that there are platforms dedicated to the matching the demand offers. So they aggregate, they invest a lot of much more than what we can do with our the project. They invest to attract demand, and then they sell these requests for a renovation, requests for pumps, requests for anything to companies. That's a business. And it exists, and they, for example, they do a sort of checkup of the intervention. A good connection with this different platform could increase the quality of this checkup. They probably need project like our project to increase the visibility, but also the quality of the checkup of the analysis that they do of the demand renovation. But they also have on the other side the company that even paying them to deliver offers in this channel. So it's something that already exists.
If I do understand well, you're saying that maybe, especially I'm talking now on behalf of the consumer organizations, we underestimate the power of representing the demand side in an aggregated way. So maybe we should focus on our point of strength is kind of aggregated demand in collective purchase, maybe not in general, but geolocalizing, as we were saying before, certain area and trying to maybe be more focused and streamlined in certain area to support the demand side in an aggregated way, the providers to serve the target, the young, the elderly, depending on the need, but also thinking about the possibility to go a step further, so they do what we have been already doing for collective purchase of energy.
And you are trusted by your consumers to do that collective purchase. So
We've been doing in Italy right now, this kind of 7th edition, started back in 2013, learning from UK, which is an association. So we started all over Europe, also Netherlands. And actually, it was quite strange in the beginning, to imagine a consumer organization to organize an auction with companies to select the best buy service, and then put this in contact with meantime collecting the interest of potential class of consumer interest in having the best by the OPEX switching and enabling the switching, because it was not sufficient again, according to the legislation, to have setting the scene of kind of freedom to change your provider and the physical provider. The people can kind of by the burdens by the selection itself, by the choice. We have a right of choice, but then we do not exert it. That's reality. And basically, they rely on us, on consumer organization, to make it happen. So it's kind of pretty you can enable.
We could also, because we're now collecting our data, breaks with the actual data. I remember we did a lot of analysis in the Netherlands, and we saw that in Amsterdam, people had different interests when selecting the measures that they would choose for their home
compared to the east of the Netherlands. So you might, there's a location where there's no insulation collective purchase or solar panels or whatever that you also like geographically find those. So I think there's a lot of possibilities related to it because it's very valuable if you sort of help people by taking care of something that they would normally take a lot of effort into choosing, because you already pre-select and you have a competitive advantage compared to everyone one-on-one selecting their consumer here or there.
I will do the floor that you want to share something, and then we will open, because it's like the last panel, so maybe you can also add something, comment, or make questions. So
Yeah, just one building on what both of you said. So you're trusted. You have the capability now to become even more capable by tailoring, because you know the customers about this data. So then reflect on your point that for us, you said, for the negotiation can be done online. But why not trust the consumer organization, that they have trustworthy algorithms, that they have trustworthy rules, they're transparent about the rules. And I can imagine that you can even do that online. You don't need to be offline negotiating for the price of the refurbishment or a solar panel or whatever. So that's an idea. Trust is a really powerful thing. Trust combined with capability. That's that, and you can take the burden off of people. So I really like to emphasize that if you have a trustworthy position, that position.
thank you, Heidi, for bringing again this digital as an option, because you are like this. Like, for me. Yeah, that's why you are here. That's why you are here. So I would like to open the discussion. If you want to make questions, we have 10 minutes, so we can briefly also go together at the end of the session.
I want to comment to the learns. I think they are quite interesting because I agree with you that digital is absolutely necessary because the way we find things. So I think real learning should be get AI, but in a focused way, training agents, because there are too much AI believers in the world. And for example, for a quote, it should be dangerous having we should train in giving a range just to accurate, because a lot of things arise to get a real quote and not people make drive crazy or something like that. And the other point should be very interesting, having AI very vertical and focus on finding people being connected to native sales or getting good prices from the goods or projects, because you get clean a building or square completely and they get better prices just to be a community or a renovation for a quarter. So it should be interesting mixing this verticality in terms of training agents, very focused, and advise people and advise with people very experienced and in forums and for this information, and then analyze this screening like about.
And even if I can build on this last point, that due to the volatility of the subsidies schemes locally ongoing, you can maybe capture the opportunity of a skill or city that you are not aware of, and we are not the one cannot be aware either because we are not everywhere. And so maybe you can connect to the smart cities opportunity that you might lose if they are not spotted. There's a possibility.
That's a big research.
Yeah.
But the last point is getting a stable, long-term and cheap financing out of subsidies. Because if people know they have money, they can pay easily for a long time. People go through renovation, big, small, or whatever, because it's when time elapsing, you know you have a long time. So this issue should be
on the journey. We learned that the main learning of if you want of HORIS is that we also in structuring the project itself, as mentioned by Sue, were quite ambitious. The training itself could be, a huge deliverable outcome. So we did a lot, and we offer a lot of options. Several stakeholders, okay, to the professional, to the consumer itself. What I realize now is that people probably fed up and the one simple answer, and are just kind of one thing, single thing oriented, and that's it. I mean, they don't want to be disturbed by additional ancillary information that we want to offer as knowledge in the background to support the choice. But basically, it's a little bit sad to say that they don't care. They just want a simple answer to their question.
And the screening can come from AI in terms of, if you are doing that, do you know that you can do that? Are you interested? Yes, no. And you write, rewrite.
Also, your approach on simply simplifying the service, of course, and also the vertical, it's totally agree, because this verticality clarify a lot which kind of tasks or set or requests. For example, on the offer can come from a company or a professional, can be quickly analyzed and assessed by a vertical AI, really specialize on this. This could be interesting services, of course, because then it's something that can attract again people to the platform. This, let's say, it's a very specific task that an AI can do quite well.
Yeah. Thank you, Miriam. Are there any other question or comment that you would like to share? Go ahead.
We are keen on the community. Next report policies will be on neighborhoods, villages, urban boroughs. It's just for 1 week policy. And, this will be the main game changer. So all the discussion about AI and our agent consider only one person, but a group. It's very important. I've seen, I'm not an expert in AI, but I have seen with the school in Athens we work with, was working with Lexi, and it was providing this artificial intelligence development. And this support, sorry, students in a class to progress together. So it is not very to teacher capacity, but class is evolving together. So we have to think about this because actually these tools should target global efficiency in a group. We need to evolve. If we get also the demonstration of Bernie Sanders in the United States, demonstrating that AI is saying itself, but we are going in the wrong direction. We consider more and more just our 50 past years or 150 past years, it's more. It's future is less. So we need to target really these two communities to building actually what you discussed about trust in community and how you build 30 years improvement data and changing habits of the community. And this needs also another infrastructure. So there wasn't in the discussion, but we are thinking in the European Browser to organize this decentralized organization. So those tools as Hyper-Earth, which is a decentralized autonomous organization, which work with communities that are connecting with each other. And so you could possibly have a structure as yours, your consumers could provide an agent for helping different communities to work. You can then ask one moment to help a group to progress. Then the group continues as a community because this needs time and this needs. I experienced this with village. So we are discussing with the village with real underground things. This needs times.
I totally relate to what you're saying. 14 years ago, we started working on buildings, and it was households, it was churches, fortresses, living theaters, all the typologies that you can think of. We renovate, like from the small buildings till the big theaters. And we quite quickly got first demands of people who wanted to share together with their neighbors or with a district or with a group with the same typology. To join forces and together go through the process, because then you have the nudging of the community, So we have, for instance, collectives of churches, and they start telling each other how amazing it is to insulate the ceilings, and then they're gonna have a look and okay, oh, I have to do the same, and then so the nudging of a community is very important. That's one thing. In Holland as well, all the municipalities have an obligation to have a heat or energy transition plan in place. So they have to make basically a plan on how each of the different districts and parts of the city becomes free of gas. It starts with a high level plan, but it now starts getting more and more concrete. So there are more and more communities that together start to develop their energy system. So if we solely focus on HORIS as a platform that helps one individual in renovating, you lose also a big opportunity. On one hand, the example of collectively buying your stuff, but on the other hand, also in finding shared solutions. Because if you can design one energy system for a street or maybe even a whole village, you get enormous leverage, but you also need the municipality to actively participate. But this is like, there will always remain a place for the individual and what the individual, what their capability is and what their what they can do themselves, and that relates to what they can do with the installation, for instance, or the things you have in your equipment in your kitchen, or like, so there's parts that you have to do individually anyhow, even if you're gonna do a shared collective project. So I think that's also something we can look into the future, because it's also part of this panel. Something we might take along together with AI.
Okay, I just wanted to what should explain. It's very brief, but the point is that this future is really near, in the sense that what the Commission is asking for positive energy districts, positive energy blocks, and these are approaches that need a community approach, and also the funding. The single deep renovation, it's very difficult, but the funding of a block of a district, it's an operation that. And it's not easy, but you can attract funding sources is more easily, because it's a large operation that can attract on the other side banks, equity funds, and so on. But then there's a need of a community approach, actually.
And make policies, as you say. Yeah, so what very tricky. So my approach for ours would be to you start with a homeowner. I would say move to smart citizen. So taking all their other journeys into account, and the next phase would be to move to smart communities.
Yeah, thank you very much for the panelists. Thank you very much. I don't know, Marie, if you want to close.
Yes, thanks a lot to all who agreed to join us and speak today, or listen to or participate to the discussions.